Welcome to On the Point Podcast, a podcast for all things Overwatch with a heavy focus on League, discussing roster moves, weekly matchups, and quarantine. Quarantine.
Yeah,
Quarantine.
there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah, well, I'd rather quarantine be going around than other things. So,
Yeah, that's I think that's a fair assessment.
so this is a brand new podcast setup for us because
Hmm.
usually we get together and record in the same place on the same mic, and because we are quarantined, we're obviously not doing that.
Yes.
So we're taking advantage of a nice little service called Zencaster, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. Pretty well so far.
Hopefully this doesn't create too much of an impact on our quality and everything. I don't think it will. It sounds good on the test, so I mean,
Yeah, we're like a minute in, and so far nothing terrible has happened, so I'm gonna roll with it.
yeah.
This is how
Yeah,
my
that's good.
Overwatch League. This is how my Overwatch games go. We're a minute in and nothing terrible has happened, so I think we're okay. And then 5 minutes later, what do you mean we got full held?
Oh god, yeah, that's a feeling.
That
Uh
is my whole ass life playing competitive in bronze.
Yeah, bronze competitive is a thing. Uh,
Admittedly, shout out to the last humans that I did my placement matches with because they were lovely. They were
nice.
incredible.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
I legitimately, and this is going to sound a bit like flexing, but I genuinely have not ever played in bronze unless I was trying to help somebody.
And this is why you have my point of view on things. So you can see it. Here's how the other half lives, CJ. Here's how the other half lives. Anyway, I'm Katie. I'm the support main.
I am CJ. I'm the tech main.
Yeah, I'm Katie. I'm the support main. I'm in bronze. He's CJ. He's the tank main. He's in diamond. Diamond, plat. Diamond.
Diamond. I
Diamond.
I haven't been in plat in a year and a half. Like I
Look,
just haven't
silver
been.
is a stretch goal for me. I don't know how the higher
Mhm.
tiers live.
I honestly, I feel like I could get to masters if I played enough. I just haven't been playing as much lately.
Something, something, hashtag quarantine. I don't know. Anyway, we
Yeah,
have a lot to talk about
we
because
do.
according to this half done outline, the last week that we recorded for was season 3, week 3. And according to the Overwatch League schedule, it is now season 3, week 13. So we got some
Yeah,
catching up to do.
yeah. Life got very busy for both of us, and then got weird because of quarantine. And yeah,
Yep.
it just was kind of a fuck storm of just things that kind of put this on the back burner for a while. But we're here, we're doing it now, and I'm, ready to talk about some Overwatch for better or for worse.
So, for all like 15 of you who listen to this, we appreciate you.
Yes,
Thank
we
you for
do.
your patience. We're back.
Yes.
Surprise, bet you thought you'd seen The Last of Us. So, our format's going to be a little different because no way in hell are we recapping 10 weeks worth of matches. That's insane. And we're
Yeah.
not that insane.
No. No.
So, instead, we are going to look at team trends as a whole,
Hmm.
changes to the format of the league now that we've had to go online, and other larger pieces of news. And then also shit that happened on Twitter today, because today has been a super bonkers day for Twitter and Overwatch League. But
Yeah.
that's
It's.
that's the end.
I
Eh,
have opinions and thoughts and feelings on those things, so we'll get to that in time.
yeah, there's bad things, but there's also McGravy quietly winning the internet, so we got to
Yeah.
talk about that too. You got to appreciate people just kind of being a little batshit insane, especially in
I do.
quarantine when we are all staying home as best we can, unless we are essential workers and or healthcare providers, in which case y'all are amazing. Thank you so much. Holy shit.
Absolutely. And for those of you who haven't, let's say, haven't had the most considerate employers when it comes to this situation, you have our heartfelt condolences.
Yeah. So we're sorry and thank you. And for those of you who are able to stay at home, able to work from home, able to do whatever, fucking do it. Stay at
Yeah,
home.
take care of yourself because all this push to reopen stuff before we have a vaccine and that could just end up putting us back to square one.
And not gonna lie, this is why I'm grateful to be in California, and I am grateful for Gavin fucking Newsom, who is our governor and who seems to know his shit in terms of quarantine things. So like
Yeah,
I'm
he's been
grateful.
he's
I'm
been on
grateful.
it, and I wouldn't. I've never been the biggest fan of Andrew Cuomo, like as a former New Yorker, but he's been on it. Like he's been performing better than I would have expected him to.
From what I hear, he's doing well in some aspects, and then there are some other part of his
Oh God,
politics
yes.
that are still failing badly at the moment.
Oh,
But
for sure, and like
that's
part.
politics, and
Yeah,
we're here to
well,
talk about the politics of League.
yes, yes. Let's just kind of start going. We've got the teams organized alphabetically. We're just kind of gonna go through it and talk about how they've been performing, what we've been seeing, and sort of what we expect. Um,
What I can appreciate about this outline is that you can tell where I did the analysis and you can tell where CJ did the analysis, because where CJ did the analysis, it's a bunch of well scripted paragraphs and very well thought out stuff. And where I did the analysis, it is scattershot bullet points and, well, I thought it was good, question mark. So
yeah,
you can, there is a dichotomy in this document and it
there,
is hilarious to me.
there's a reason that I'm here.
Yes, to provide the actual content of this podcast while I sit here on my bullshit and also edit things. I am the
Yeah,
edit monkey. This is how we live.
pretty much.
Anyway, the Atlanta Rain.
Yeah, Atlanta Rain. You guys will remember I was pretty high on them going into the season. They haven't quite lived up to that. They're doing solidly, and they have a ton of potential in their roster, but they haven't really been able to live up to that consistently as of yet. They have had a lot of up and down performances over the season so far. Um, so yeah, we'll see if they can continue to improve and really sort of get it together and start showing off what I believe that they're capable of. But if they just kind of stick at the current place, it is entirely possible that I've just overrated them. I don't think I have, but
I mean, I think Atlanta had a lot coming in from last season.
yeah.
So, and then again, a lot of this is we have teams who are very, very good at doing their thing, but then you look at hero pools, which is the spanner in everyone's works, and you
Yeah,
look at online play, which I think screws up some teams more than others
for sure.
because it's much easier to focus when you are doing so in a location specific to what you're doing,
Well,
as opposed to when you're doing it at home.
and at the other thing is for some people being in front of a crowd, they can feed off of that energy, and
Yes, we
they
call them extroverts. I'm dying.
well, it's not even extroverts. Like I'm a fairly introverted person, and when I and me personally, when I'm in a concert or something, I can really feed off of that energy. I get very excited. Like the vibe of the room can really sort of affect your emotion and fire you up. And for some people, that's the thing. For others, like you said, it's distracting or even intimidating. Um, and that's on an individual thing, an individual like person to person basis. I think the thing that I said going into this, like when we did our power ranking thing way back when, is that the teams that are going to have the greatest degree of success are the ones that are the ones with the best coaching staff.
And we're really
Um,
seeing a lot of that now that quarantine and online play are putting it to the test.
yeah, for sure, and that only amplifies it. That only amplifies it more.
Yeah.
With that situation, with the introduction of hero pools, with so much other stuff kind of going on all at once, it puts a tremendous amount of it requires a tremendous amount of preparation to really play on a super high level. And the yeah, so with Atlanta, on paper, their roster is incredible and should be able to handle things regardless of meta. Because on main tank, you've got Gator and Pokpo, both of whom are very, very solid main tanks. We know that they can both play a very good Reinhardt and a very good Winston. They can both play Orisa. I don't think I've seen as much Wrecking Ball from either of them, but they can play most of the things that you're expected to play to a very high level. On off tank, they've got Hawk and FRD. FRD did a great job when they picked him up last season. Hawk has, you know, been consistently one of the best off tanks and contenders throughout his time there, and has a really great established synergy with Gators. So, you know, having them together puts, um, I think, is kind of a force multiplier. In terms of your DPS, you've got Edison, you've got Erster, you've got Baby Bay, you've got Sharp. These are some bad dudes. They are very dangerous across a wide variety of heroes. So, regardless of who's out of the rotation, you've got someone who can play these different characters to a very high level. And on the back line, we've got Kodak, Masa, Dogman, and Fire. We've really only seen Dogman and Masa, but Kodak and Fire are no slouches either, and have done. You know, Kodak did a solid job when he was the starter early in the Overwatch League tenure of the Atlanta Reign before he went down to contenders. And Fire has been a contenders mainstay for literally longer than Overwatch League existed. Yeah, he was on a team called Envision that played in the first iteration of contenders and did better than people expected. And but so yeah, this is a team that I think has a lot of parts that if they can come together, they have the potential to be one of the best teams in the league. The thing is, they haven't always had the best read on the meta. They've struggled against higher level teams, and for whatever reason, they just don't always necessarily seem to be on the same page in certain compositions. They've come up short against tough opponents, and even against weaker ones, sometimes have looked not as strong as you would think they would.
So I'd say they still have the potential to be a top 10 team, and if they can get it together, possibly even a top 5 team, depending. But it's very much a get it together sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of if in that situation. I think that they
Yeah.
definitely have the potential to be a lot stronger than they are right now, but you know, we'll see what comes of that because Sefi, who is their head coach and manager, he was the guy who initially was in charge of the Shock before they hired Krusty, and was the former head coach of Selfless Esports back when they were an Overwatch team. Um, he is a good manager, and a lot of people have good things to say about him. But I think this is going to be the biggest test of his ability as a head coach. There's a lot of things he does well, but we'll see sort of if he can implement a successful structure in this team and how they shot call and how they can adapt to things. Because
Yeah.
that's what they need right now.
Okay. Moving on to Boston. Oh, Boston.
Yeah,
Yikes.
I said the other day that Boston are finally living up to our expectations of what their season one was going to be.
First of three, best to, yeah, first to three, going to 8 rounds. Leave me here to die.
Yeah, so Boston Uprising, it is genuinely difficult to kind of find an upside right now. Boston's players are outclassed in pretty much every role. Like when they're up against enemy DPS lines, at least one of the enemy DPS is going to at least seem to be mechanically better. Their tank line is getting bullied. Their back line can't stay alive. Their team synergy is weak, and they have struggled to adapt to pretty much all of the meta changes of the new hero band system. These players, I do think they have the potential to succeed on an individual basis. Like they're mechanically gifted, and we've seen a lot of them succeed in other arenas. But but they're not doing it here. And some of these problems could be resolved by the coaching staff, because ultimately, I think that's kind of who needs to right the ship when you have a team like this. But right now, it doesn't look like they're able to give the team the support that they need to improve. Um, Mineral, who was the head coach of Florida in season one for most of it until he was replaced by Ryder or our tutor. I don't know how the hell you pronounce his name. Um,
Oof. Big
um,
oof.
yeah, his redemption arc is not going very well. Um,
I will give Boston one pretty big thing.
I think we can give them two because if it's going to be what I think you're about to talk about,
Yeah, it's that second bullet point there.
yeah, yeah, it's the fact that what is it with Boston and diddlers?
I don't know. Well, one, why would you put it that way? Two, yeah, no. The
I
best thing
mean,
that Boston has
yeah.
the best thing that Boston has done this season was their handling of the Mufin situation.
To be fair, they've
Because
had practice.
yeah, unfortunately. Yikes. Yikes. I have
um,
awarded you one yike, and here is a second yike. Quit
yeah,
collecting yikes. They suspended him when the allegations of sexual harassment surfaced.
yeah. For
They
those
did
of
an
you who are not
investigation.
familiar, it was he was accused of sexual harassment and inappropriate conduct with a
Conduct.
minor.
And sexual harassment of multiple people.
Yes.
So, yeah, so the accusations surfaced.
Hmm.
Boston Uprising suspended him pending an investigation. And then, at the results of the investigation, they ditched his contract,
Yep. They
which good for Boston.
absolutely they handled that just as well as they could have and as quickly a fashion as they should have.
This is one of the few things that Overwatch League does better than pro sports. Is handling players who fuck up.
How's it going, NFL?
Well, they're not playing and we are, so
Yep.
suck it
Um,
everyone everybody else?
yeah.
Question mark. We're doing
Un-
our best.
Unfortunately
Sit a
for
couple of football teams
Boston,
down and have them play a game of Madden.
I love it. Unfortunately for Boston, Muffin was also one of their better players on a mechanical level, so this leaves a team that's high and dry with even less to work with than they already have. Which probably sounds like I'm saying that it was a bad choice. No, it was the correct one. I'm just saying it also makes a bad situation worse for them.
This is
Um,
why I appreciate what they did though,
yeah, no, they
because
did the right thing despite the fact that it was harmful to them in some
oh,
regards.
absolutely. And that's hard to
Um,
do.
yeah, so with the loss of Muffin, and also Axiom is on the inactive list, they're down to literally 6 players. The team
Oh
that they
god, it's
field,
Florida again.
the team, Mineral brought it with him.
No.
The Yeah, the team that they field in every game is the only one that they can field, which leaves them quite predictable to a lot of their enemies because by this point, if you know what these players can do, you know what this team is capable of, and right now that's not looking like much.
And recruiting nowadays is hard enough with,
Yes.
again, quarantine, being online, hero pools, and not having the best gameplay reputation at the moment.
Also, the fact that the tier 2 scene is imploding.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of just not great stuff. We'll get into that at another point, I think. Probably not this
After the break.
episode. Um, but yeah, Boston Uprising, I genuinely don't see them finishing 19 or up. I think where they're at is where they're going to stay.
Are they dead last right now?
Yes.
I would like to award them another yike.
Yeah,
We're up to 3 yikes at this point. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Woof.
I'm going to confirm that. I'm very sure of it, but let's see right now.
Fusion's over here really sad that he didn't get traded to the Valiant last season.
Oh my god, he deserves better. He's one of the players on that team that I have like the most hope for.
Yeah, his Overwatch League life is difficult. Like he's
Oh,
just he
Boston. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. For some reason, on Liquipedia, when you hover over Boston's thing, it says 19th, despite the fact that they're 1-8, and the next best team is 2-8 with a better map differential. So I don't know.
well, let's go to the league site and look at standings.
No, no, no. I'm looking at the standings
Yeah,
right now. They are dead
yeah,
last.
whole ass bottom.
Yes.
Yikes.
So yeah.
Admittedly, most of my favorite teams are not doing much better than them. Hey, hey, hey,
No.
hey, hey. We'll
So
get to that.
yeah. Moving on, Chengdu Hunters. Chengdu is, as ever, Chengdu. They do what the hell they want. They march to the beat of their own drum, for better or for worse, and they found some success with that. That being said, with their new coaching staff, with Ray in charge and RUI having officially sort of retired and exited the scene, um, they started to try and work with some of the meta compositions created by these shifting hero bands, and they've found some success with that, but it's kind of a mixed bag mostly. Basically, Chengdu's big strength is their tremendous individual talent from the overwhelming majority of their roster, and the unpredictability of playing them because nobody does what they do. That latter bit is hampered a little bit by the changing hero pools and the fact that their roster is really like specialized in terms of excuse me, in terms of what their players do. Like if you see Jinmu get swapped out for Bacon Jack, you know that they're going to be playing a composition with a little more hit scan slash sniper focus.
Yeah.
Um, so this wouldn't be the biggest loss in the world considering the raw ability of their players. But the thing that really hurts them is the and kind of compounds is that they're often really sloppy. There are times where players will like unnecessarily commit an ult after a fight is lost or panic ult when they're pressured, and it usually winds up costing them. So if they can tighten up their team play and get rid of some of their bad habits, it can go a long way towards improving their results. I don't know that I would put them in like the top 5, but they
No.
they would definitely be moving further towards the top half of the league.
Yeah, I mean, they're at number 17 of 20 right now.
Yeah,
So,
and the thing that you have to take into account as well with all of this is that the majority of these teams are playing within a set region. The
oh
Chinese
yeah.
teams are mostly playing the Chinese teams. We have the Pacific Division teams that aren't in China sort of playing each other. The Atlantic teams, there's a little more individual, there's a little more like sort of interdivisional mingling amongst them. But um I
Just
would say
because
that
no one can travel and it's
yeah,
easier to mitigate time zones
yeah,
because in America, China plays at fuck o'clock in the morning, and in
yes,
China, America plays at fuck o'clock in the morning. So,
yeah.
can't really
And
win.
well, the point I'm trying to make with this is that I think compared to say the Atlantic Division, Chengdu is facing a much higher level of competition.
Oh yeah, the bar is much higher in China. You look at
Yeah,
Shanghai, you look at Hangzhou, and the fact that New York is also playing in the Asian division right now.
yeah.
So it is a
Uh,
much higher bar.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think them being at 17th is maybe not the biggest indicator of their actual relative level of strength. Like, for example, I think they would beat Toronto fairly handily, despite being 5 places lower than Toronto.
Yeah. 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 Why
Um,
must you hurt me?
it was just the
Can't
first
we just
example
pick
that
on
jumped to mind.
Boston some more?
It was just the first example that jumped to mind.
I know, I know.
Um,
Let's be real. League itself is hurting me right now because I like so many
yeah,
teams that are not doing well. But
it's
that's
true.
my fault.
Speaking of teams that we like, or that I like,
I
Dallas
was gonna
Fuel.
say, who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket?
I mean, Becca also owns a Dallas jersey.
Okay. And no. The Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, we're in that period of the season where Dallas looks really promising, and at the moment, I think that might stay that way. Decay and Doha are as dangerous a DPS duo as you'll find in the Overwatch League. The back line of Closer and Crimzo being kind of the primary starters, with Harry Hook coming in instead of Closer sometimes. They're starting to gel together quite nicely. The performance on the tank line is still kind of uneven sometimes, like with Gamsu struggling under heavy pressure as Reinhardt, with the big example being when they played the Gladiators. But he's generally solid, and Note's performance has been less shaky than it was through most of season two, and the first couple games of this season. Like, he's looking better. Their team play is good and getting better. I think finally having like an in-game leadership figure like Gamsu goes a long way towards helping this team correct some of their issues. They have a new coach in, I think it's Yang from Element Mystic. Who we'll talk a little bit more about them later because they're relevant more to other teams. But yeah, they still sometimes commit to comps that are less than ideal, but they're in a good spot. And I think if they continue to improve on that current trajectory, we'll have a winning season at the very least.
Can I just say that the Battle of Texas that we had this past weekend was some of the most exciting Overwatch we've had since quarantine started?
Oh yeah, it was a ton of fun. Like, lot of compositional variety, some genuine, there's a genuine storyline to this one.
Oh, yeah.
There's adaptation needed to be made over the course of the game. It was just everything you kind of want to see in an Overwatch match. I loved it.
And I will say,
And
as a
Dallas won.
Houston fan, I was making jokes to my roommate about, well, Houston is playing Dallas, so I'm going to start day drinking now. And then I was completely sober the whole last match because Houston did a lot better than expected.
Yeah,
Because
they
we've
did.
seen that Dallas is becoming a much better team,
Yeah,
but so
I
is Houston.
yeah,
I
I'll
love
talk
it.
more about Houston later. I will say that I do think the hero pool that they were in definitely favored Houston's sort of compositional strengths, and they played into it at like a better level than we've seen them do this season. Like, if they can stay there, that's a really good spot for them.
I also think a 5-week break in the scheduling really helped.
It can help or hurt because on the one hand, you have time to sort of mentally reset and practice and analyze, but even like scrims don't necessarily give you a it's not the same experience as playing an actual match.
Oh, absolutely not. But there's also been enough hero pool rotation by that point that you can see how do these other teams play in this hero pool? What's good? What's bad? What do we need to keep in mind the next time that this tank is out or this hero is out? Like,
Yeah,
we are back into, well, we'll talk about the hero pool for this week in a little bit, but
yeah,
it's a recurring theme at this point and it's going to be interesting.
for sure.
But yeah,
So
Dallas doing super well.
yeah, I'm very happy. Moving on, we have the Florida Mayhem. So
The relatively good team with the state you really don't want to be living in right now.
yeah. So they haven't exactly lived up to the hype of like Florida Mayhem is good now that people kind of assigned to them at the start of the season based on how they ended last season. But they have looked to be slowly improving as the season progresses, with their recent win over Paris being probably the best they've ever looked. You can definitely put an asterisk on it to a certain extent because Paris was running a less than optimal composition for the majority of the game, and the fact that they're down arguably their best DPS player in XC and are still dealing with the fact that Eep retired. Um, so there are asterisks you can make, but you cannot deny that Florida looked like a better team than they had previously. There are rumors also that they're doing very well with Hanzo and Tracer and Scrim, so they're experimenting with different comps, developing new facets to what they can do. Whether this is kind of a flash of bigger things to come, or it's just kind of the stars aligning for them to put on a really strong performance, we'll see, as the season goes
Yeah, the I'm allowed to like Florida now because Bare Hands left. Yay.
on.
So I just I'm not surprised that they're doing better. I
Yeah.
also still don't see them as a top tier team just
No, I don't think they
because
are.
Well, just because we've seen our top tier teams play and we know what they're capable of. And we know that even if Florida isn't playing against a number of those teams like Shanghai, we still can sit back and compare and go, yeah, when these two next meet up, we're pretty sure who's going to win. Unless someone has a really good day and someone else has a really bad one, odds
Yeah.
are. So we can still compare relative play styles, even if we're probably not going to see them play each other this season with all of the in person events canceled and travel being super risky.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yeah, this is numbers lie the season.
yeah, pretty much. And the thing is, we knew a certain degree of that was going to be happening just because of the change in format, especially the addition of hero pools. Like that shakes things up in a really, really big way.
Admittedly, Hero Pools does make it hella entertaining.
To a certain extent, I will say I'm personally kind of frustrated by it for a couple reasons. One of which being, I think the having teams like need to work so hard to prepare things and having so little time to really play with comps, determine what's best and adapt and evolve it. I feel like the standard of play in terms of just quality is lower.
Ah. So you're thinking 2 weeks with the same hero pool? A little more time?
I think that yeah, it would be a nice thing, but the other thing that I'll get into it later. I have
Yeah.
feelings about it that I will get into later.
Okay.
So
In
up
the
next,
meantime,
yeah,
yep, we are headed back
Guangzhou
to the Asian
Charge.
division.
Yeah, we're back in China. So the Guangzhou Charge are currently the they're ahead of Chengdu in terms of their results in the Chinese region, but they're still towards the bottom half of that right now. But I still think that they're a very strong team. I think that right now they've got a really solid front line in Rio and Krong. It's great. Chara and Shu, solid, and they've got a really great DPS line in Eileen, Happy, and Nero. This team has their bases covered and can perform really well. They just need to tighten things up. We've seen what they can do when they're playing at their highest level possible. Like they smoked Hangzhou in the match that they had. They definitely like we've seen them outplay and just crush other teams, but they come up short more often than not.
So, do we think that this is another coaching issue, or do we think this is maybe learning to adapt to hero pools more quickly? Like, what's the solution here for Guangzhou?
So it's hard to say just because I don't know as much about what's going on their end. So their head
Legit?
coach, hmm?
Legit?
Like the thing is, I think it might be a coaching thing, but this is pure speculation just because um the coach in charge of their team is a guy named Jin, who previously was the head. His resume, like the relevant thing, is that he used to play for a Freak of Freaks Blue with way back in the day, which is where we got guys like IDK, Lucid, Mono, Arhan, a lot of players came out of that organization. But as a coach, his big thing was he coached a Korean team called Metabellum. And they never really did better than like the third, fourth range against like stiff competition. Um, so I'm not sure, I'm just I don't know necessarily what to make of it. Though a lot of players on the team right now are people that he worked before in Metabellum.
Okay.
Yeah, that team had I think it was Rio, Chara, Happy, and there might be one more, but I'm not remembering it off the top of my head.
Honestly, I'm amazed that you know that much about it off the top of your head. That is impressive.
That's why you have me here.
It really, yeah. I mean, I also really like talking to you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yes, the font of information is definitely a thing. All right, so moving on, the Hongsho Spark, bang
Hong
bang.
Shou. Yeah. So, despite the fact that Guangzhou beat them in their last matchup, and I apologize for the clicking, by the way, I'm going through like all of my various notes and things. But despite the fact that they pretty convincingly beat Hangzhou in their last match, I do think Hangzhou is kind of the stronger team right now.
I would
Um,
concur. Also, just given how they've been playing against the other teams in their division.
yeah, I think Hangzhou is more. I think Guangzhou has maybe a higher ceiling, but Hangzhou is more consistent.
Yes.
I also think that Hangzhou has a stronger backline in the form of IDK and Bebe.
Oh,
I think, yeah,
absolutely.
and I think they can tag in Coldest, who is also just a bad motherfucker. Um,
Half the fun of watching Hongsho is watching IDK and Bebe lose their minds.
yeah, it's very very true.
Let's be completely real. Put them
Oh
on
yeah,
Paris, and people are going to wind up in the water.
yeah. And while I think Adora and Bazzi maybe are not like if you put the DPS lineup of Adora, Bazzi, and Godsby against against Nero, Happy, and Eileen, I probably would pick the Guangzhou DPS line, but they're not Hangzhou is not slacking. Like Adora, I think doesn't get talked about quite enough.
Do you think they've got better cohesion than Guangzhou?
I do. I do. And I think part of that comes down to the fact that the majority of this team has. So, the majority of the Hangzhou Spark came in as a unit. Um, so, they used to be a team called X6 Gaming who played in Korean Contenders and the Apex tournament before that. Um, Basically, the the majority of the players that have come out of X6 Gaming have been incredibly talented because like yeah, no smite might not be the greatest, main tank in the league, but let's just go down the list here. 1, Glister, Bebe, BQB, who I'm not as high on, but Godsby, Bebe, No Smite, Glister, Choi Hyobin, Architect. Like they've had a lot of really good lot of players come out of there. And when you have right now three of the X6 Gaming players in Godsby, Bebe, and Rhea, still working with the coach that kind of got them to the dance in Mask, who is the head coach of the Hangzhou Spark. Uh,
You've got a good foundation to build on for a team.
yeah, and you've got existing chemistry.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of better team cohesion, the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah, they've come a really long way from where they were at the start of the season.
I'm so happy. Oh my god.
I would,
Ah.
yeah. They're playing compositions that like make sense within the hero bands of a given week. They're doing a better job of utilizing the different pieces of their lineup to suit the compositions they want to run. We're not seeing the fucking Blase McCree. He's getting a pop off on Doomfist now. And their team play isn't anywhere near as sloppy as it was in the earlier games. Um, they definitely seem to be at their strongest in dive compositions, which makes sense given what their players like to play. But there's still moments, even in those situations, where their coordination isn't everything it could be. If you look at the Dallas game, Muma got caught out and murdered, like in two very key situations.
Which
Um,
I honestly think cost Houston the game.
I don't know if I think Dallas still could have won it either way, but that was a huge thing. But credit to them, Houston didn't get boomed by that.
This is true.
Like that, and to me, that's a sign of a well coached team, that their mentality, their mentals didn't crumble. Um,
And this is a team that's been basically cursed
yes,
for this season, last season and this season, in
yeah,
terms of ownership, finances, getting evicted from the team house that they moved into because the homeowners association got a bug up their ass. um, Having a homestand and having there be a boil advisory for the water because a pipe burst in Houston. Like, they've been fucking cursed from the get go. And to see them doing as well as they are right now just brings me so much joy.
yeah. They're looking really good if they can keep playing at that high level, because we've seen Houston definitely go up and down, and like they definitely have the DPS threats to bail them out of potentially sticky situations, but at the same time their strength really does fluctuate based on the hero bends. They don't always have the best read on the meta, and sometimes I think they're one of the teams that is most susceptible to the hero pool changing, affecting the strength of their roster in terms of who's playing what.
Oh yeah, no, we're in trouble this week with Widowmaker and Wrecking Ball both out because that's basically no Linkser and one of Muma's better tanks.
Yeah.
We're in
um
trouble. And we're also facing what? San Francisco?
yeah,
We're
I'm not super optimistic about your chances there.
Look, this weekend is going to. I've already made jokes about this on Twitter, but this is going to be a very painful Overwatch League weekend for
Yeah.
me. I need to make a
Uh,
drunk Twitter because holy shit. Anyway,
I feel that. I do.
I
Um,
know.
but yeah, so they've done a great job of tightening things up, but they still have a way to go before they're, finally able to really turn the corner and convert the near losses against better teams into wins in their favor. But they've gone from, potentially the worst team in the league to a solid mid-table team that has upside.
We have gone from going 8 rounds in a best of three against Boston to handing Boston its ass. I'll take it.
Yes. Oh,
I will
yeah.
take it.
Absolutely. And honestly, this is more in line, because you'll remember at the start of the season when we were doing our power ranking thing, I was singing Houston's praises. I'm like, this could really be a chance for this team to make a solid run.
And I mean, Blase Doomfist has been giving me life, and I think also giving Blase life and giving the Outlaws life. Like,
Yeah.
this is where the man belongs.
And yeah, I'm very happy that they're using the duo of Repel and Jexay. I think it's great for the team.
Jexay
Um,
is so damn good. He's
yeah,
so pure.
he's a good boy.
He's a sweetheart. I miss seeing Raucous, but
Hmm.
I cannot deny the efficacy of that team.
Yeah, like the thing is, I think when you have an Ana, Raucous is probably the better of the two, but in most other situations, I would pick Jexay.
Yeah. And again, I also miss consistent Linkser, but
Yeah,
he's a specialist, and this
yeah.
week is not going to play to his strengths at all, so we're probably not going to see him. It's
Hmm.
This is the problem with really liking your specialists on the team. You see him once in a blue moon. It's like
It's
being a
true.
Bacon Jack fan.
Yeah.
He lives!
Hmm.
The rare Bacon Jack sighting.
Local cryptid bacon jack.
Local cryptid Bacon Jack. I want that on a shirt.
Uh,
I have a shirt
okay,
shop. I could do it.
you absolutely
Anyway,
could.
speaking of local cryptids with few sightings, the London Spitfire.
Yeah, they haven't played since week 4, I think.
I think this is why I'm sitting here laughing about numbers lie, because they're at number 6 in the rankings right now, having played 5 matches.
Yeah, so
So,
it's very deceptive. Going off of what we
yeah.
have, I don't think they look all that great. Their
Uh,
performances were very uneven. JMac struggled on the main tank role, and while they have some, bright spots in Glister, Shui, Cleston, and Bernard, it hasn't converted into meaningful wins. The only wins they picked up are against an early season Houston that looked hopeless. Washington Justice, who have struggled throughout the season, and we'll get to them in a little bit, and the
hmm.
wildly up and down Florida Mayhem. Unless they have dramatically upped their game in the 10 weeks that they've had off, I don't think we're going to see any game changing performances out of them. And as they face better competition, they're just going to slide down that ranking.
Well, and I'm wondering where they're physically located because we see NYXL now playing in a different division than the one it was originally slotted in because a lot of these all Korean rosters are going home because of the pandemic. And I
Yes,
100% do not blame them. Home is a good
not at
place to
all.
be when the world is terrifying.
And also, South Korea did a great job with response. Arguably, it's
My
a safer
God.
place to have your organization situated right now.
I would argue that right now New Zealand is the safest place to be in terms of COVID-19 because
Mm,
they've fucking murdered it, but South Korea pretty damn far up there.
yeah,
Like amazing. So, yeah, I'm assuming that that's where New York is now because of their Korean roster.
yeah.
I'm wondering where London is.
Well, we know for a fact that the New York is over there.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering where London is. Are they still in Britain? Did they all go back to Korea? Like, I don't know where they're physically located. So it has me questioning who they'd be playing when they come back. And I
Yeah,
wonder if location issues are part of the reason they're not playing right now.
it could be. I can't say that I know what that's going to look like, though they are scheduled to play next week, I believe. So we
Huh.
might get some answer to those questions. I think they're supposed to be playing in week 14 or something. I will double
Who
check that right now.
I suppose then the question then becomes who are they playing against?
They
Because
are
that
playing
will answer
against
that question.
Chengdu. Yeah, at 3
Okay.
a.m. So I guess they're back in
Okay.
Korea. And then their next game is against Guangzhou at also 3 a.m.
So they're about to go make Guangzhou and Chengdu's numbers look much better by comparison.
Quite possibly. Like I said, it's possible that they took a few ranks in badass during the break, but I'm not holding my breath on that situation. You know who I'm a
Given
lot more
this,
hopeful for?
yeah,
LA Gladiators.
my boys. I have like 8 sets of boys, so
Yes.
but
Yeah,
my
and they are
boys.
my preferred LA team.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
going at the going basically at the start of the season when we got to talking about power rankings and figuring out where we thought people were going to be, my statement was Deepe is a great coach. They've got an incredible front line in OG Space and LH Cloudy. They've got an incredible back line in Shaz and Big Goose. The question was, would Mirror, Birdring, and Jaru perform?
And the
And
answer is Jesus, yes.
the answer is you bet your ass. So basically, this team, I thought that if all those parts functioned, they would be one of the better teams in the league, and right now they absolutely are. They are,
Another situation of numbers lying because they're down at 11, having played 6 matches.
yeah. They're up against some very tough competition in the standings, and I think that they have definitely improved and learned from any like losses that they've had. I think Gladiators are only going to get stronger as this goes on.
And let's be real, they're up against Defiant this coming weekend, and yeah,
Yeah,
just
Toronto,
just just
not in the best spot. Not in the best
no.
spot.
And it makes me very sad because Toronto has the two T's that I followed them there for: Tasumi and Team Gamer Snacks. So, yikes.
All right, all right. Um,
Allow me to make my terrible jokes. That's why I'm here. But yeah, no, the Gladiators have been a lot of fun to
yeah,
watch. Even though we haven't seen as much of them in official matches, they did the exhibition match with the Valiant when
yeah.
Echo came out, which was just hysterical. So
Oh my
much
god, it was so much fun.
and it's fun to see that they still have really good humor, really good this is a team that's going places once they are really able to get back in the swing of things. Again,
Yeah,
having played 6 maps versus other people's 10, 11, 12.
for sure. And I think a lot of that really does come down to Deepay. Like the dude has built a great team culture that, has made the organization a thing and makes players that come into it feel like they're a part of something bigger. It like being on that team motivates people.
Yeah. I definitely miss Sentinels as their social media presence,
Yeah,
but they're not exactly hurting.
for sure. They're in a great spot, and I think they're only going to get better. So, shall we move on to the Valiant?
Yep, my other boys, my brand new set of boys. I still don't know how to feel about them.
Yeah, it's one of those things of when we looked at the roster initially, it these players were very untested, had not had the most impressive results. There were individuals that looked really good. Like I was very happy to see McGravy there. KSP is a very talented player, um, but the majority of these players had not faced competition at anything near an Overwatch League level, so expectations were very low. They've really outstripped that.
Yeah,
Packing 10 has done a really great job of building a cohesive unit out of these players and making sure that they are ready and able to play whatever composition he's come up with to suit their, the shifting hero band pool. But they have come up short in their last few matches.
yeah, they are. Again, they're sitting down at 18th with a 2-6, but
Mhm.
a number of those are map fives.
Yeah,
So it's not like stage one of last year where it was we are 0-7 and just getting blown right the fuck out of the water.
yeah.
Some of these have been closer matches than others. And that's
Mhm.
something to take into account versus getting 3-0'd and 4-0'd all week long.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think they definitely have that thing where they'll sometimes play up or down based on like the level of their opponent. And I think the Shock had kind of figured them out in
Oh,
the
yeah.
so
And I mean, we're also, again, looking at the shock.
yeah,
Valiant
they're in
got one over on them once.
yeah,
And then and
y-
I am going back through looking at the schedule and going, all
yeah.
right, who did they play? How did they do? They got their shit wrecked by Soul, which is a little surprising to me, but
Uh,
it makes sense that their record is the way it is
mhm.
because look at the sheer amount of talent in
Oh
the
yeah.
division that they're playing against.
Yeah, the thing is, the Pacific Division is immensely more stacked than the Atlantic Division. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
So they're facing a very, very high standard of competition. And while they're maybe not converting those narrow, matches into wins, they look good and they look like they are capable of turning that corner.
Yeah, they're at least narrow matches and not all blowouts all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And
So
doing that with a roster that's 80% new people,
mhm.
not bad.
Yeah, and Packing 10 did a very great job scouting this and building this team into something very special, I think.
Yeah.
Even if ultimately this is one of the things that's very interesting to me in terms of esports, in that esports teams prior to this have traditionally had a pretty strong identity, like, the rosters are the team, whereas now the rosters can completely go and the team is still there.
I think that's honestly one of the weirder things about being an esports fan as opposed to
Yeah.
a traditional sports fan, because you do have people who, I know there are people who do this for traditional sports, but I feel like it's not as frequent's not the right word, but there's not as many traditional sports fans who do this as opposed to esports fans where they follow a player, a
Yeah.
specific person, or a specific set of people from team to team to team. You're a Surefour fan, well, you're probably not cheering for the Gladiators anymore, you're cheering for Toronto, God
Mhm.
help you. um, Again, that's the joke I made about Toronto. Why am I cheering for them now? Well, they have my humans. And
Yeah.
yet I'm still with Valiant, despite the fact that they pretty much axed all of the people that I was there for. So
Mhm.
it's a weird situation to be in. And it's
Yeah.
hard to call people out for relative loyalty to a team
Hmm.
when their loyalty may never have been to that team in the first place. It
For
may
sure.
simply have been to a specific player or set of players.
Yeah,
I will
and
forever call out people who bitch about, oh, well, my team's not doing well, so I'm leaving. Like, no, that
yeah,
is some fair weather fan bullshit. You
yeah,
sit down.
yeah. That
But
I agree with. I will say though, I feel like one of the things that makes this situation different in esports than traditional sports is traditional sports. The brand is the thing that you follow. That's the thing that is kind of mythologized and has eras and all of that. Whereas in esports, the players are personalities in and of themselves. Like you don't see, and again I'm just using my own personal example, unless you've got someone really special. You wouldn't see the Yankees like market a player as like, this guy is our team, whereas in esports quite often you'll get a star signing. Like, just look at Atlanta at season 2. How many people got on the bandwagon train because of Defran?
many. That was a thing I was worried about at the beginning. And then Atlanta fans turned out to be relatively chill on the whole.
Oh
So
yeah,
good on you, Atlanta.
yeah. um Basically I feel like the personality of players and the content that they create is a bigger part of a team identity in esports, because these players are separate entities basically.
Yeah, and also because they're online, you have more access to an individual player than you normally would with,
Yes.
a six-figure salary sports player whose assistant runs their Twitter or whatever. And also, there are far fewer players on any given esports team than there are on most traditional sports teams.
Yeah.
So, you follow 6 or 8 or 10 personalities as opposed to 12 or 24 or 50.
Yes.
So yeah, so that makes a lot of sense to me, and that yeah, when it comes to discussion of fandom in Overwatch League, it's very easy to tell who has been a traditional sports fan and who has not,
Yeah.
especially in their approaches to team loyalty and team performance and honestly other fans.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
there are definitely, like, here's the thing. I'm a Dallas fan just from the word go. If Vancouver drops all their runaway players, I will probably not be a Vancouver fan anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly going hand in hand with that, I think Vancouver was one of the only teams where for people not familiar with Runaway, for people coming in fresh,
Hmm.
you don't learn anything about the players aside from
Oh
the fact
yeah.
that Bumper does what Bumper wants.
Oh my god.
Vancouver
I was
was the team where it was the brand over everything else. And that's kind of how they wound up with the unstoppable force, Thanos of the Overwatch League sort of branding. And it
yeah.
was interesting to see that run, but it was a detriment to people getting to know the players themselves.
Yeah, I will say, like, as someone who's a really big Runaway fan from like day one, seeing people's reaction to them in Overwatch League legitimately pissed me off, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
And we never learned who they were as people. And
I'm
that's the language
I'm
barrier.
I promise you, you're gonna fucking know by the end of this.
Oh, I know. I know that Vancouver's down towards the end of the list because of alphabetical order, but I know. Anyway, fandom in Overwatch League is a super fun, super weird entity and well worth looking into. But in the meantime, we have other teams to look at, like New York.
Yeah, NYXL.
Welcome
Um,
back.
Yeah, it's hard to have a truly solid benchmark as to where they are, given the long gap between their first few games and their more recent ones. Early in the season, they didn't really look like themselves. They were trying a more aggressive play style, and frankly, I don't think they had figured out how to use all of the pieces in their roster, updated as it is, just yet. Their more recent games, they've done a way better job of figuring out which players need to be playing in which compositions, and just they've looked more like their old selves. Their play style is sort of back to what it is that they're comfortable with, and I think they look like really strong contenders, like sort of the way that I expected them to look at the start.
Yeah.
Ultimately, oh sorry,
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say ultimately we'll see how they look against the highest tier of competition against teams like San Francisco or Shanghai. Shanghai sooner than later because that's going to be happening very soon.
Oh yeah, the hoedown, showdown, throwdown. That should be fun. They're currently sitting at number 3 in the ranks, and honestly, I'd say that's accurate for them.
Yeah. I think playing Shanghai will be the biggest litmus test of where exactly they are. But right now, I think they're in a really good spot, and they if they keep playing at this level, I think that they have a very strong chance for the title.
Yeah, we'll see, and honestly, I look forward to seeing. Very rarely do I say, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching an NYXL game," but you got me here. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Um, Up next, Paris Eternal. Uh,
Holy shit, Paris.
yeah, I think
They
they're they are quite possibly the best example of the difference that a good coach makes.
Yeah.
A lot of people, myself included, were not optimistic about the new mixed roster Eternals' ability to kind of gel, and thought that the roster had some obvious deficiencies, even with the addition of new talent. And they have proven me pretty decisively wrong. Their team play has been really crisp. Veteran members like Ben Best and Nico have looked better than they did throughout like all of season two, and new additions like FD God and XC have been game changers. Like sometimes they've struggled to figure out exactly what lineup or composition to run in new hero ban mini metas, but they tend to adapt quickly, and there's no denying what good Rush has done as their new head coach. He's been fucking on it.
I mean, it's been night and day for them.
Yeah, it's genuinely incredible.
Yep.
Um, so I think though that they are going to struggle a little bit in the near future, because Xe, who is their strongest DPS player, is currently at home in Korea seeking treatment for severe neck pain. He will. There was a statement earlier today that he will probably be back in June. Early May with luck, or late May with luck.
Yeah, and I
So
mean, travel and
yeah,
whatnot.
yeah,
Got to be careful.
for sure. But basically they're down arguably their best DPS player. They're limited to Soon and Nico, and you could do far worse than that. But
Yeah.
you know what those two do.
Yes.
And the other thing is that Eep has retired, and he was their flex support player, and I think the best one that they had. I think Gray is good, but I think Eep was the stronger player who had more time and practice to integrate with the team.
And his retirement came right the fuck out of nowhere.
Very suddenly. So yeah, basically this kind of curtails their firepower and limits their options a little bit. But this team is still more than good enough to take matches off of people sleeping on them. And when Xe comes back and Sparkle comes of age, watch the hell out.
I would also argue that this is a team that's affected by hero pools and handling them.
Yes, I think when Sparkle and Xe are back in the rotation, that will be lessened.
Yeah.
But I think right now they definitely do fluctuate a little bit. But I think that their cohesion has generally made up for it.
And also, if I'm remembering this correctly, Soon has been practicing on Echo quite a bit. So we
I
could see
I would
some
believe it.
crazy upheaval this weekend with Echo finally being eligible.
Yeah, honestly, like I think Nico, who's primarily known as Genji, could also be very good at Echo. But like I
Yeah?
think either one of them could adapt to that hero very nicely. And it will be interesting to see how they implement her usage.
That should be fun.
Yeah. Up
Moving to what looks to be their rivals.
Yeah, Philadelphia Fusion. On paper, their roster looked amazing at the start, and they're really living up to that potential so far. They're currently at number one in the standings on the back of significantly improved tank play, a resurgent Carpe leading a really strong DPS core, and a superstar support duo in Funny Astro and Alarm. On top of that, so Fusion in previous seasons, I would say that they were a sloppy, scrappy team. They relied on a lot of individual skill and kind of like the carpe factor to carry them through fights.
The Carpe
Um,
carry. He do
yeah,
that.
pretty much. Like, how many times did we see them go into a fight, lose it, and then Carpe or EQO pop off and just drag them kicking and screaming to a win?
Oh, absolutely.
Um, and now they have a roster that can fire on all cylinders and work together very nicely. They can win the day with team coordination and synergy in a way that the old Fusion really struggled to do, which is, I think, a big credit to the changes in their coaching staff. They just look more coordinated and adaptable than they ever had previously. And it'd be very tempting to say that they are the top team in the league. Like you said, they're number one on the rankings. But you have to put an asterisk next to that because they're playing in the Atlantic Division, where the standard of competition is a lot lower. And we have yet to see them up against elite competition that you would see in other regions.
That said, I am looking at their schedule, and their record with Paris is 1-1, and
Mhm.
both of those are map 5 games.
Yes, though I do think that
So,
they will win their next game against Paris.
see, and I want to put an asterisk on that one myself
Hmm.
because the one that they lost against Paris was the one where McCree and Widowmaker were out for hero pools and the Carpe carry was not an option. They're not reliant on it, but it's still a good thing to have in your back pocket when
For
you
sure.
are facing a team that's difficult. And that is the one that they lost. And I don't want to blame it solely on the Carpe carry,
Mhm.
but that is a tool that was
It
not in
does.
their toolbox that
It's true.
week.
It's true. I will make
And
a counterpoint though.
and this week, we're looking at the same toolbox. No
My
hit scan.
my counterpoint.
Let's hear it.
What is Xe best at?
This is true. However, they did take that win without Exy.
Yeah. Though I will
So they
say,
were not reliant on him for the win that they did take.
yeah, but
Either way,
that
it's going to
hero
be a bonkers match.
that hero pool also, I think, definitely played into the Paris Eternals wheelhouse more than it played into the Philadelphia Fusions. I think that the way that hero pool worked out, it was kind of in the favor of Paris. And after their first game in that hero pool, I forget who they were against, but I remember they were playing something I didn't think was ideal. And then when they played against Philly, they had shifted.
Yeah. No, that I cannot remember. You know
But
what?
my point is, we will see how they perform against teams in other divisions, because I think that's ultimately going to be how we can really tell accurately how good they really are.
That first one, that week where they won 3-2 over Philly,
Hmm.
it was the last Justice homestand, and they got 3 0'd by the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, that sounds right. I
was
remember there
that
were.
the hero pool week where Reinhardt was out? Because I remember going, "Oh, Reinhardt's out. This is our week."
I think, but they were playing a composition that I think having Nico in over. I don't remember. I would need to look back.
Yeah, regardless, that was not a good Saturday, but it was a hell of a Sunday.
Yeah,
For Paris, at least. It was a great Saturday for the Outlaws.
yeah. Very true.
Anyway, San Francisco, last year's champions,
Hmm.
as of earlier this week, down the MVP.
Yes. Uh,
Yikes, yikes, yikes. So let's look at this.
So they've definitely lost some matches that they should have won and struggled in matches that should have been sort of gimmies for them. But there's still quite a lot there. They have an incredibly stacked roster, full of incredibly talented players under a very good coach. I think kind of like a lot of teams, they kind of struggled in some of these sort of mini metas created by the hero bands to have a good read on what is the best thing to play. And if you look in some of the matches that they lost, they were playing compositions that they're good at despite crucial pieces being banned or less effective. But they started to find their footing and utilize their insanely stacked roster more effectively in the last few matches. But as you say, now they're down Sinatra.
Sinatra did say, and we'll get into this a little more, but he did say when he retired that he'd lost the passion and that he was not giving it his all in scrims or in games.
Mm-hmm.
So
And Super
what
said as
I'm
much as well.
so what I'm wondering is, with Sinatra out of the picture, will it actually be better for the Shock because then they can put in someone else who is still in it to win it, is still playing at the top of their game or close to? Because Sinatra is incredibly talented,
Yeah,
but talent doesn't count for a damn thing if you're not there. And he
yeah,
wasn't there.
yeah. He was not there in the way that he needed
Needed
to
to be.
be. And I do think that one of the things, like, he was like, people have talked about him as someone who would, call shots and be decisive and um, help kind of propel the San Francisco Shock forward. And so it'll be interesting to see, even if someone is there, can they necessarily replace all that he brought to the table? I do think Shock still has the potential to be the best team in the league. Their roster is too damn good and works too damn well together. Otherwise, for to get a different result, I should say.
And I
But
mean, I would point to Choi Hyobin and Moth as two of their most solid and I want to say most talented players. And
yeah,
let's be real, I fucking love Super.
oh yeah, he's fantastic. So yeah, with the Shock, they still have an incredibly stacked DPS roster in Striker, Architect, Rascal, and Ons. That's still arguably, I mean, it's the best DPS lineup in the league. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's the only way this could be scarier is if they had profit.
Yeah.
But
I would also put Bird Ring on that level.
the thing is though, the reason I say profit is because Ons and Striker and sometimes Architect. So Striker is known for like Tracer, Widow, McCree, like that. That's what he does very well. On the thing he's most known for is his Widowmaker, though apparently he's done well with Tracer in some scrims. And Architect, I think, also has a very good Widow, but he plays Genji. I think Prophet is just more flexible than Bird Ring. I feel like the
True.
sort of I feel like what Bird Ring does is covered between Striker and Ons.
So then my question is, do we have someone on this DPS line who can pick up what Sinatra was able to play, like your Doomfist play?
I would say that Rascal and Architect would probably be the ones you would look at to do that, but ultimately, I don't know. We will see how they perform with that. Rascal he's one of those players that's known to have a very wide and varied hero pool for like forever.
True.
So I don't think that there's suddenly a big gap in terms of what they can field.
And again, they're back with players who are in it to win it. And they're up against the Outlaws this week.
Mm-hmm.
So odds are it's going to be San Francisco, but we'll see how they adapt
It's true.
with this hero pool and with the loss of again the league MVP. It'd be like if Jonak
Mhm.
up and quit.
Yeah, but how to put this? Yes, he's a big part, but I think it's his influence in terms of the on-field mentality more than necessarily his mechanical skill that will make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Uh,
So we'll see how the
yeah,
Shock do this. And again, they're up against the Outlaws, who are a team that is on the up and up if they can continue to get their shit together, but
yeah,
I think is also looking at a hero pool this week that does not favor them.
yeah,
I'm looking at that loss of Wrecking Ball and worrying.
and they're up against one of the best teams in the world.
Oh yeah, and last season's champions.
Yeah. So up next, Seoul Dynasty. They were a team that I had very high hopes for on paper, just based on the changes they made to their roster. And they were initially living up to them quite well until they ran into the buzzsaw that was the Shanghai Dragons and got stomped.
But
Um,
that's also the Shanghai Dragons. I mean,
yeah,
oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
and we will get to that. But yeah, right now for Seoul, we're working on a sample size of 3 games. But their team players look solid, and they definitely look like a team that can take on most comers. But their two weaknesses are pretty much what I thought they would be. My prediction, like way back when, was that I thought their off tank position was going to be a little bit lacking. I didn't think Michelle was, at the level of a lot of other off tanks in the league, and the value that he gets in terms of his ability to play Sombra doesn't really matter anymore with role lock. Um, but yeah, that was operating under the assumption that Michelle would be filling that role and not Marble. And the second thing was Fitz, who hadn't put on superstar performances in seasons past and does not look like he has hit that level now. And I think having, Profit is amazing, and having him on that team is a big pickup for them. But right now, ultimately, I think whoever they stick with him is ultimately like is ultimately a significant downgrade.
Oof.
Can you imagine what this Soul Dynasty team would look like now if they had Profit and Fleto?
My God.
Yeah.
And also
Um,
we're looking at we're looking at the teams that are playing in Asia now, which you've got some really, really good ones in there.
mhm.
So again, it's possible that Seoul would be doing better were they playing in the Atlantic Division. We're just going to keep bagging on the Atlantic Division. Let's be
Because it's
real.
true. Because it's true. It's always been
It
true
is.
throughout the history of Overwatch, or the Overwatch League, I should say. Um,
It is. It
so
is. It is. It is. Oh
yeah,
boy, oh boy, oh boy. And
yeah.
I root
So
for 2 teams in that division? 3?
yeah.
Ah.
I mean, hey, most like the only team in the Atlantic Division that I really, well, one of the 2 teams in the Atlantic Division that I really rooted for dropped the reason that I rooted for them, so I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, Fraggy.
Yep.
He seems to have disappeared into the ether.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fuck you, professional Overwatch scene. Uh,
Yeah, they don't know what they had.
no, the fact that he didn't get to play Goat in Overwatch League is such a fucking crime.
But him coming out with Bishu for Guangzhou, like I know it was just that one time, but my God.
I was very
Whew.
happy.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Anyway, Shanghai.
yeah, my personal pick for the strongest team in the league has an
I
absolutely
concur.
stacked roster that is playing very well together under the guidance of Coach Moon, who's doing a great job of, I guess, earning back some of his street cred that he lost when he was in charge of the Valiant last season.
Yep.
There were some questions about how well the main tanks would perform, Stand One and Fearless, and while they haven't looked like, I'd say they've looked like maybe B plus. They've done a lot to silence doubters, and with the rest of their team being so ridiculously strong, like every other position is so stacked that as long as you play competently and you do not drag down the team, you're in such a good spot. Their DPS line is monstrous as expected. Lip, especially, has really sort of been a surprise at just how goddamn good he's been. And their support and off tank players have performed similarly well. I want them to put in Geggery, but Void is killing it. Um,
Could you imagine saying this about season 1 Dragons? Could you imagine season 1 ever saying that Shanghai would be the best team in the league?
no, because that team never could have been.
This is true. Which
Like,
is this is the point where we're talking about, the difference between franchise and players and
yeah,
just Shanghai as an anything. Like, could they ever be the best? You would never be able to conceive of that
well, yeah,
watching season one.
but the thing is, the I have said repeatedly on as many over as many forums as possible, that the Shanghai Dragons of season one were doomed to fail from the start. U4 was a shit coach who ran the team abysmally. Um, the team was constructed in a way that is laughably poor, because Five King, Free Fill, and Altering, at the time, mostly known for their Lucio play. Undead and uh, Undead and Dia, both known for their hit scan play. Zusha and MG, mostly known for their diva play. Roshan and friggin' yeah, he was the only main tank at the beginning. Roshan was pretty much told by U4 to just suicide into the enemy team, more or less, in just like ridiculous levels of aggression. That team could not have succeeded. Their roster was worse in every capacity than their competition, and was built with a ridiculously limited number of specialists when you needed to cover way more bases. You had a team that could play Lucio and McCree really well. Congratulations. You need 6 other characters to play a game.
So it's a very good time to be a Dragons fan right about now.
Absolutely, yeah. Like Fearless and Stand One have been really good. You've got a great backline in Luffy, Izayaki, and Lee Jae Gon. You've got options at off tank in Void and Geggery.
That's
And
honestly my one criticism of them
they
is
haven't
just
fielded
fucking
Geggery.
play Geg.
Yeah.
We're getting to the point where she's starting to feel like more of a mascot than a player, and I hate that so
Yeah.
much. Shit
Yeah.
or get off the pot, Shanghai. Play Geggery.
Yeah, and I do think, like, I know that people kind of downplayed her ability a lot. Um,
People are allowed to be wrong.
yeah, I think she's absolutely a good enough player to start, and on this team with this coaching staff doing what they have, I think that she definitely gets the support she needs to succeed. They just need to do it. In the meantime,
Yeah.
her DPS line is fucking horrifying. You've got Lip, Fleta, DM, Ding, and Dia,
Basically, a
which
whole bunch of holy terrors, most of
which
whom start with D.
yeah, sounded like I was about to go into the dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
But can you dodge a wrench?
Can you dodge a ding fire rocket?
The answer for most of these other teams is no, evidently.
No. But yeah, right now Shanghai is the team to beat. They look so good. Their roster's so stacked, and they're playing so well together.
Oh, yeah. Also, play Geggery more, you cowards. I
Agreed.
know Void is an incredible tank. Play Geggery more, or trade her to a team that will. You have the only female player in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I will forever be salty about, one, that she's the only female player in the league,
Mm-hmm.
because, oh boy, professional gaming sure is against women as a whole, as an institution.
I mean, just look at what happened with Fran in the recent sort of like for fun tournament.
Yeah, in the Echo tournament, please allow
Yeah.
me to go off and just throw a bunch of assholes under the bus where they belong. Because Fran is amazing, and she put that team together and they won.
Yeah,
Like
and
that wasn't a team that happened despite Fran. That was a team that happened because of Fran.
everybody on it talked her up at how good she was, and she performed really fucking well.
Yeah.
Um,
So
they're
yeah,
like,
needs more female players at a professional league, and everyone else needs to get their heads out of their asses about female players at a professional level. And yeah, Shanghai needs to play Geggery. God damn it.
yeah, uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's where I live my life right now. Let me be salty about that because it's a lot easier than being salty about our next team, the Toronto Defiant.
I'm glad you made that segue because I had several options for that in mind. Yeah,
Allow me to cry a little bit over my poor, poor boys.
Toronto Defiant, another team that is struggling to the point it's kind of difficult to see their path to success right now. Majority of their roster is distinctly middle of the pack in terms of their performance at their role. Beast is a capable Reinhardt and Winston, but his performance suffers on the Wrecking Ball and Orisa. Surefour has a wide hero pool, but he's not necessarily a huge pop-off threat unless his team buys him a ton of space. He's not like he's good, but he's not like one of those, playmaker carry your ass instantly DPS. Like he just isn't. That's not how he plays. Um, and agilities is feast or famine, usually the latter.
Well,
Uh,
he shaved all his hair off. Maybe he'll be better now.
he's unfettered his chakras. Uh,
Yes, exactly.
Kellex, he's capable if unspectacular at the main support role. And the bright spots on the team, in my mind, are Nevix, Logix, and Kariv, but they genuinely have some huge deficiencies to make up for. And they have a really long way to go in terms of coordination if they want to come close to the top teams. It's just one of those things of the team started at this level and does not seem to have changed.
So, what's the solution for them then? Is it a coaching issue, a recruiting issue, a team cohesion issue? Like, where's the path forward for this team?
Okay, so this is difficult to say, especially because remember their head coach quit.
You're going to hurt me, aren't you?
Um, Lilbo is their current head coach, and the thing is, I'm not necessarily sure what to make of that because this is his first coaching job.
Ooh, ooh, that's
He
rough.
Yeah, Lilbo is he's a French player. He was part of Eagle Gaming when they were just pummeling European contenders. Then joined Team Giganti, who were a consistent mainstay at the top tier of European Overwatch. He's a former StarCraft 2 player actually who transitioned into to Overwatch. Um,
Huh.
yeah, no, it was cool. It was one of those things of like I remembered watching him in StarCraft, and then I was watching EU Contenders one day, and it's like and Lilbo, and I'm like, wait.
And oddly enough, looking at the numbers, their Toronto Defiant is at number 12, right under the Los Angeles Gladiators at number 11. So once again, and with a 4-5 record. So once again, I think we find ourselves in a place where numbers lie,
I agree because
and also they're in the Atlantic Division.
yeah, they're in the Atlantic Division, and right now, let's look at their played matches real quick because in the 2020 season they played Paris and won that 3-1 in like the first game that they played.
I
Then they
think that
lost.
was Paris before Paris got good because that was
Yeah,
like the opening match of the season.
yeah. Then they played against Philadelphia Fusion, lost at 3-2, got 3-0 stomped by Atlanta, got 3-1 kicked by Houston and Florida. Then they beat Boston, Washington, lost to Houston again, and then beat Boston again. So ultimately, the teams that they have beaten are one, a team that they are not beating now.
Houston.
Uh, I was saying Paris. They didn't beat Houston.
That's
They
true.
beat Paris, Washington, and Boston. So
Hey.
um,
So
tells
they
us
beat a team that's
nothing.
not going to lose to them again, and then they beat 19 and 20.
Yes.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And then then they're up against the Gladiators, the San Francisco Shock, and the Los Angeles Valiant. So they're going up against the Pacific Division,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah. So right now, like I said, I think that the biggest
Pluses on the team right now are Nevix, Kareev, and Logix. I think having a backup main tank who can do the Orisa would not be a bad idea. I think, and I know that you're probably not going to like this, getting a better projectile player.
Hmm.
Um,
I said it
yeah,
earlier, all the skill in the world doesn't mean anything if you're not there.
yeah, it's just they need to pick up some players to sort of amplify their roster, and then in terms of coaching, it's genuinely hard to say because Lilbo got force promoted because the other guy just left.
He should have been learning the ropes as an assistant coach under someone who had some experience.
Yeah, this is his first coaching job. He was an assistant coach, and then Fefe leaves, and now he's the head coach. And I forget, are there other coaches working under him?
I have literally no idea.
There are two.
Are they experienced?
Well, Allbless, who is I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I really don't. Um, has had previous coaching work. He was part of the coaching staff for the Paris Eternal. Or no, I think he was like their manager initially. I'm not sure what his initial role in the Paris Eternal was, but he worked for Paris Eternal, then Montreal Rebellion, and now for the Toronto Defiant.
Okay.
Yeah,
And this was the
Allbless was.
Paris Eternal last year.
Yeah, so right now he's their team manager slash assistant coach, and then I don't know anything about the other coach, Baroy or Barwa. I don't know how to pronounce it.
So they're just kind of in a rough situation, full stop.
Yeah, I think their roster. I expressed my doubts at the beginning of this,
You did.
um, and I expressed my skepticism of how they were going to do with Fefe because literally the only time he has really shown up was when he was coaching Eagle Gaming. His work on the Paris Eternal was shoddy at best.
They were what, 16th last year?
14th.
14th.
They were, I think, 11 and 17.
Okay. So Toronto's just kind of in a hole unless they can get another coach.
Yeah, I think that having another coach and picking up a few new pieces would be helpful.
So before we move on, I actually want to see if we can do this a little bit out of order so we can finish hurting me.
We can finish on
And
my rant.
so you can have some room to just kind of go.
Yeah,
So we're going to break alphabetical
you're gonna
order.
regret giving that to me, but
I don't think I will. Sometimes you just need room to go. So we're going to break alphabetical order. We're going to switch our last two teams, and we're going to talk about the Washington Justice, who also continue to hurt me despite the fact that I love them. That is the
yeah,
problem with loving many of these teams. Almost everyone I care about is ranked bottom 10. Bless them
yeah.
all. I
Um,
know, yeah, for now, numbers lie, but still, ouch, ouch, ouch.
yeah, Washington Justice. Their strengths and weaknesses are what I predicted they would be, except the weaknesses are just magnified. They've got strong DPS players, with Corey being, the biggest standout, but their front and back line are proving to be way less solid. The result of this is that they kind of over rely on Corey popping off to win them fights. And if he doesn't manage to do that, they basically just don't win in most scenarios. And like having
Sadly, Corey is not Carpe.
I mean, to be fair, like the other players in the fusion would make plays sometimes.
This is true. Anyway,
Um, Having a superstar DPS threat is great, and it can go a long way towards making your team succeed. But if stuffing them is all the enemy needs to do to take you out of most fights, then you either need the rest of the team to support them extremely well and give them the space and protection that they need to get what they need to do, or be able to apply pressure on your own. And right now, they're not doing either of those things. I think right now the Washington Justice's two biggest upsides are Corey and Elivote, but Roar has just not performed up to the level that
We know he's
it.
capable of.
Well, yeah. The thing is, in Contenders Korea, he was one of the better players, one of the better main tanks when he was signed. Like, just as an example, Korean Contenders, I think it was 2018 season 2. Um, so Korean Contenders, um, it was when Runaway finally won their title. Uh,
Yeah.
so the so they or no, it was season 1, I think. Yeah, because season 2 is the first one where they had the brand new roster. Uh,
Regardless, we've seen Roar play at a high level in Contenders, and we've seen him play fairly well on the Gladiators as well.
yeah, well, yeah, my but even then, like with the Gladiators, he did not perform at the level that I think we were expecting him to, based off of his performance in Korean Contenders with Kongdu Panthera, because that roster, it was, the team that would become the Vancouver Titans, and the Kongdu Panthera lineup was most of the players that would become the new Shanghai Dragons. It was Youngjin. Well, basically, here's the lineup. Front line was Roar, was Youngjin and Ding, because it was GOAT at the time. But so it was Roar, Youngjin, Ding, Decay, Luffy, and Coma.
Good lord.
Yeah, it's a badass team right there. And they made it to the finals, and that final, again, up against the team that would become the Vancouver Titans and have probably the most dominant regular season in the course of Overwatch. They had it was a best of 7 that went to 8 maps. And Roar, as the thing went on, was outplaying Bumper. He was winning the tank duels. The deeper into the series they went. But in Overwatch League, he hasn't lived up to what we've kind of expected him to be capable of. Then you have you know on your backline you have Aim God and Arc, and Arc is very good in his sort of like S tier skill is like staying alive, but Aim God and Arc are maybe better than average support players, but they're not they're they're just not doing enough to keep their team alive in a lot of cases. Aim God gets killed and doesn't put out a tremendous amount of healing. Like, maybe they should have picked Heal God instead of Aim God. um,
Ooh, hey, hey, hey.
my point is, their front line is weaker than most of what they're going to be encountering. Their back line
Yep.
is weaker than most of what they're going to be encountering. And while Tuba and Stratus are capable of popping off, they haven't in the way that they need to sort of take the heat and pressure off of Corey.
So is our solution here recruitment or coaching?
Um, I think you need both. Like, the thing is, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the Washington Justice have struggled with adapting to new hero pools.
Yeah.
They've struggled with that, and they, I think they need both really.
So we're in another great situation along with Toronto.
Yeah, I do think that maybe the coaching would be the biggest part of it. Like, I think this roster could potentially succeed if they lived up to their full potential. And we'll see if John Galt, who is the head coach of the team, and Wiz, who is their strategic coach, can kind of can shape things up, because I do think they have the raw material to win games. It's just a matter of activating that potential. I do think picking up a better back line and maybe upgrading Roar. I mean, you've got Lulzish, but he still hasn't been able to fucking play. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that that
I think yeah is about all we've got for them at this point. My red teams are hurting me.
mm-hmm,
Speaking of hurting, and keeping in mind that we are approaching 2 hours already and not at the halfway point. This is what happens when you do a catch-up episode. You
yeah,
you record late. Um, we are at the Vancouver Titans. I will ask you to keep this 30 minutes or less.
yeah.
Go.
So the Vancouver Titans, anything I really had to say about their strengths or weaknesses as a team is kind of going out the window today,
Yup.
because one, today they lost their head coach Pajian, who had been the previous head coach of or one of the coaches of Fusion University, and they also lost Janu, their primary off tank player.
Who
So
posted on his little used Twitter today,
I'm
I'm
free.
free.
So basically, I spent a lot of today very angry. Um,
Understandably so.
because this team, while I am, my first love in Overwatch, just period, was Envious, the team that would become the Dallas Fuel. I love the Vancouver Titans, the team that they fielded, because they used to be this team called Runaway. And Runaway literally started as a part of, basically, prior to the Overwatch League and Contenders, the biggest tournament in the world was a tournament called Apex. It was Overwatch Apex in Korea. And Runaway showed up to Apex Season 1 without any kind of sponsorship. They were an amateur team in a team full of professionals, in teams that had players like Taimu and Harry Hook and Mono and Alarm and Bernard and Bunny and Carpe and Birdring and Lucid and Ryu Jahong and Who Are You and all these other things. You had these guys who showed up in hot pink sweaters that were literally bought out of pocket by Runner, the Korean streamer who founded the team, who's also, at the time, their only coach, their main support player, and the guy paying all of their salaries. And after in the first, iteration of Apex, they played promotional matches, basically. They played promotional matches, then played they didn't do well in that first season. They played promotional matches and got put into Apex Season 2, and they went fucking deep. They had a bunch of like hugely big plays, like the Eye of the Kaiser thing. Look it up. Um, they had and a really endearing moment where they beat one of the best teams in the tournament, and Runner was so excited that he jumped up and threw his arms in the air and literally punched a panel out of the ceiling of the booth and was immediately like, "Oh my god, what did I do?" It it was great, and they made it to the fucking grand finals of that tournament, and they had a best of 7 against Lunatic High, who, if you'll remember, ahead of season 1 of Overwatch League, it was expected that Lunatic High, that Seoul Dynasty would be one of the best teams in the world, if not, number 2, because they had that roster. And they took those guys to map 7 and lost by inches. They struggled in season 3 of Apex because basically contract problems with another team kind of sabotaged someone they were trying to pick up, and didn't end up going as deep as they would have hoped. But then comes season 4 of Apex, and remember the London Spitfire, winners of the first you know season of Overwatch League, that came in with the expectation that they were going to be the best team in the world because they won Apex season 4. Guess who took them to map 7? Runaway. They were the ultimate underdogs. At this point, they still didn't have sponsorships. They literally were surviving on the owner of the team paying out of pocket for everything, including a team house. And people loved them because they were just this group of dorks who were so good and kept going from underdog to like inches from being the best team in the world. And people loved them so much that they literally would send them things unsolicited. They got literally a fan sent them a fucking washing machine for the team house.
That's incredible. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
And Runner eventually had to do his compulsive military service because that's how South Korea works. And so the guy who ran the team and was the heart and soul of this thing now wasn't there. And it was this big question of, is the team gonna just die here? Because they didn't have sponsors. They kept coming up short. Morale was at an all-time low. And his wife, Flowerven, who is another big name streamer in Korea, decides, no, I am not letting this die. So she becomes team mom, becomes the new manager of the team, organizes everything, and gets them their first fucking title win. The team that they beat to get that title win was as stacked as I just told you. It was such a tightly contested series that it went to map 8 out of 7. When I stayed up to 5 in the goddamn morning to watch this, and probably pissed off my neighbors at the time because of how excited I was when this happened. And if you go back and watch the footage, people in the audience were in tears. Bumper was crying his eyes out. They were so goddamn happy that after like 2.5 years of grinding to get to the top, they made it happen. And then they get picked up to the Overwatch League as a team, as an entire roster, which that just does not happen much. But they did it. They didn't have to split up. They didn't have to lose anyone. And then they put on pretty much the most dominant run throughout the regular season that any Overwatch team has. The ultimate underdogs, the guys who showed up in pink sweaters, didn't have sponsors for the majority of their team's existence. that were dogged by breakup rumors for years, that survived the guy who founded the team being forcefully ripped away from it, and someone who basically had no experience in this arena stepping up to take over it because it was that goddamn important to her and her husband. It all pays off. And they make it to the grand finals of the Overwatch League. And they don't win it. But imagine that fucking journey. And a lot of those players that were in that roster were there for almost the entire thing. Bumper and Haxal and Stitch were playing for that team since fucking 2016.
Damn.
And then between seasons, they just drop Bumper.
Which I have never understood.
The guy who was literally part of this team the longest, who has, for this team, played flex tank, main support, and main tank. He's changed roles 3 times to be what that team needed him to be. And they just drop him. This team that basically they had been working together so long, they considered each other family, that they were fucking tears when they moved out of the team house that they had established together and were living in together. They left these really heartfelt messages on this big whiteboard in the main room as like a goodbye to Runner and Flowervin, who they called bro and sis. And they just drop that. And as this goes on, you hear there, like after that happened, Sideshow like kind of dropped some hints that like, oh yeah, no, there's no way something like that happens if everything's copacetic backstage, and seems to be the case. And so they drop that. They pick up Fisher and Ryu Hong, and they're fine. They're great, but they're not part of that team. They're just not. And maybe they could be in time, but the Vancouver Titans are so unhappy with their fucking management. And let's not forget one thing. The Vancouver Titans are headquartered in a sports complex. When they were living in the United States, they were living in a fucking sports complex.
What?
And then everything was set for them to stay in NA. And then they last minute move everyone back to Korea. And after getting them there with minimal organizational support, like they played their matches from their houses.
Which is not a great way to do things when you
No.
have online play, just for hardware reasons.
Yeah. And so all this, being jerked around, all their being mad at management for whatever undisclosed reasons, and dropping Bumper and all that. Then they say, no, we're going to send you back to America where the COVID-19 situation is worse. Or back to, America/Canada.
Which is a terrible thing to do when you have them housed in Korea, which is one of the safest places to be right now.
Yeah. I would be pretty mad too in that position.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Janu and Pajian leave. But the thing that makes me so fucking angry, and the thing that, made me angry when people were always talking about, like, the Vancouver Titans is, like, ban, I remember having someone say to me, like, oh, you're a bandwagon fan. And I'm like, son, sit the fuck down. Let me teach you a goddamn lesson.
You are the literal worst person to be called a bandwagoner. Holy shit.
I was a fan of them for longer than you were playing that fucking game, person who knows who they are.
Okay.
I don't think they listen to this.
That's
but
okay.
They know.
A lot of people don't listen to this. They don't know what they're missing out on. Anyway.
My point is, they put together this fucking 3-year journey from literally the bottom you can be and play in a professional tournament to being successful in the best region in the world and still almost collapsing multiple times. They kept fucking fighting through that. They made it to the Overwatch League. They made it to the fucking top. And this is how it fucking ends. This is what all that hard work, all that suffering, all that they put into this is where it goes. A fucking public burnout with these players who treated each other like fucking family for years. And they're so happy to leave that they post "I'm free," and none of the other guys are unhappy about that. Because Slime seemed to be happy for him and didn't, his post was literally just, holy moly.
Yeah.
One of the most genuinely fucking special stories in the history of Overwatch fucking dead. Every team is going to break up eventually. That's just the way that it works. That's fucking life.
But not like this. This is
They
particularly tragic.
deserved better. And thank you, fucking Luminosity, for killing one of the things that made me love Overwatch. Fuck you. I'm done.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who followed Runaway are done. I
Yeah,
cannot blame anyone. What
the
I'm
Vancouver Titans organization has reached a mutual agreement to release all of their fans. We're sorry for wasting everyone's time.
Yikes. I would like to take back all of the yikes that I have awarded the Boston Uprising and give them to the managers of the Vancouver Titans. Hey, 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 hey. Not good ownership.
And the thing
So,
is, like, when Johnny's post came out, literally, Avast responded, "This is about to get crazy." So we're like,
yeah.
the Vancouver Titans said that there aren't going to be any further announcements today,
Today,
but this is the beginning of the end. It feels like, and I would love to be wrong, but yeah, it's one of the most the the fucking run to the top here. It is one of the most tragic yet fucking least told esports stories of our time. Wolf has, hit the nail on the head when he fucking posted that on Twitter. And something genuinely fucking special died today. I'm not happy.
I can't blame you. I'm I know this is a very long view to take for an organization, an esport that tends to thrive on much, much shorter views. But the Overwatch League, obviously, because the loss of the Blizzard Arena, splitting things up, moving teams, no more expansion teams this year, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm wondering is with the implosion of the Vancouver Titans, I want to say as an organization, God knows if they'll be on the schedule after this at this point. Um, with that happening, I'm wondering if a team, if an organization that would be looking to pick up an expansion team for the Overwatch League next year, if they would not look at records, look at things, and have the potential to pick up Runaway again as a whole, pick up this roster and try again. New colors, new mascot, new management, same players. Because I feel like if you're looking at this record, if you're looking at this, even just season 2 of the Overwatch League, even if you don't know a damn thing about Runaway, if you look at this lineup and look at them being the team to beat for so, so long, and even just being second place with the team to beat after that being the San Francisco Shock, who are no slouches, let's be real. If you're an organization looking to pick up a team to go into Overwatch League and you see that this team with this cohesion is all free and available, what's to stop you?
I mean, we'll see if they're all available or not.
because, like, Halo of Thoughts, who is someone who's done a lot of reporting on the Overwatch League, has, like, his response was when Pajian was released. He put out a tweet that said, "While it's incredibly hard to pinpoint one thing that caused the recent public problems for the Titans, multiple league sources had confirmed to me that the relationship between the players and Pajian wasn't the greatest. Honestly, I am not surprised by this move."
Oof.
So I this is clearly a clusterfuck. Like, we
And
do
the
not
sun is
know.
slightly warm.
Yeah, this is clearly a fucking clusterfuck that we do not know all the details of, and probably won't for a solid amount of time to come.
If ever, because God knows what the NDAs look like.
Yeah.
So this is where we are on the Vancouver Titans. Anger, disappointment, and a hell of a lot of question marks. So,
Mm-hmm.
no, we're not going to make predictions. No, we're not going to do play analysis. At this point, all you can do is just kind of sit back and watch and wait. I'd hesitate to say and hope because who even fucking knows?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Well, we've kept that under half an hour. And honestly, I kind of want to just clip that whole bit and put that up as the history of Runaway because, goddamn, dude, you can tell a story.
I do have a degree in screenwriting.
Yeah. I think at this point it is a good time for a break. I say as we hit the 2 hour mark. Dear sweet Lord in heaven. And I think while the rest of what we have to cover, we could probably fill another 2 hours. I think we need to try to keep it under one.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, we're going to take a minute and we're going to talk about the good things in life. Because it's a tough time right now to be an Overwatch League fan, to be living on this goddamn planet in any capacity. It's a little bit of a difficult time. And I have discovered, as a Taurus and as a human who just enjoys good food, sweet things make me happy. And this brings me to the sponsor of this podcast, Fred's BS, Breads and Spreads by Fred. Because when things suck, I want something that makes me happy, and that is very often food. And Fred does very, very good food. At the moment, options are a little limited because coronavirus is a thing and lockdown is a thing. But if you trundle on over to fredhebakes.com, fredhebakes.com, you will see that Fred's incredible brown sugar buddies are still available to order. And these are cookies that are a little bit snickerdoodle and a little bit spice cookie and a little bit ginger snap and all amazing. These are fantastic, chewy cookies that go incredibly well dunked in your hot drink of choice or just simply eaten straight. Super good. He makes them all himself. It's fresh, never frozen, made in small batches to preserve those incredible flavors. Cannot find them in stores. And usually, I'd say if you're in Los Angeles, you can do pickup instead of delivery. You're going to have to talk to Fred about that one because lockdown is kind of weird. But I cannot recommend these cookies enough, you guys. And they are super good for helping your mood. And also if you need to get mom something for Mother's Day. And also if you want to support the post office, because shipping is also a thing. So head over to fredhebakes.com, fredhebakes.com, and use coupon code on the point for 20% off your entire offer, or your entire order, rather. Obtain cookies. They are good for your soul. Well, now that we're back into things, let's talk about the shifts in the league itself. And there's a lot to cover here. We're going to try to keep it relatively short because man, I know this episode has gone super long.
Oh yeah.
but we're here. Uh for one, let's start with hero pools. And there was some contention about whether or not to implement these, how to implement these, etc.
Yeah.
And I know that execution has not been perfect, but I'm enjoying the shakeup that they provide. And basic structure of these, you remove one tank, one support, and two DPS for any given week. Any hero with more than 10% playtime is eligible. They used to be randomly chosen by the desk using a lottery machine, which I thought was hysterical,
Or a cat.
up until we were no longer able to do things in person, at which point they were chosen by a cat. And so his cat Nori wound up being the hero that we needed because Nori finally removed May and put her in the hero pool for a week. Unfortunately, now they're chosen by algorithm, which I find to be far less entertaining. But here we are.
Yeah, I really that's my biggest point of contention because I don't necessarily mind hero pools a tremendous amount, but the thing is, like you said, it's an algorithm that's based off of playtime in competitive. But the thing is that the bulk of Overwatch players fit in the gold to platinum range in terms of SR. That's the overwhelming majority of people who play the game. Um,
You're at one end of that bell curve, and I am at the other.
yeah, my point, the point I'm bringing up is the experience that you have in gold and plat is tremendously different than what you have at top 500, and what you play at the top level and how you play it is entirely different from what you play at lower levels. So basically, just as an example, Mei. In Overwatch League games, she is omnipresent at this point because she is very good if you have a team, if you have a mechanically skilled player and a team that can immediately capitalize on the chaos she can create with her ability to, basically edit the map with the wall and freeze people and so on.
Whereas in gold, she's a liability.
Yeah, she's not nearly as good. So, whereas, basically the overwhelming majority of people at any skill level largely are playing what they want to play. They're playing a character or a role because they enjoy it. Um, so basing ranked off of that means that you're not necessarily banning the heroes that are significantly influencing the meta. You are banning the things that people want to play. And while it does change things and it does, force you to do different compositions and lineups, ultimately you're making you're making the top level of play conform to a rule set that doesn't necessarily reflect what they do.
So we were better off when we had a separate hero pool for League and for just normal ass comp.
No, I think that that's stupid. I just think that you shouldn't be. I think that was stupid. I just don't think that you should be balancing. How to put this? I don't think you should be. The professional environment is entirely different than competitive play, uh, even at the higher levels. Although the higher you get, the smaller that gap kind of becomes to a certain extent. But basically,
You don't think that people at League level should be beholden to rules generated from gold play?
yes, because I don't think that that gives you the the biggest chance of shifting the meta in a way that's truly meaningful without being fucky. While at the same time, you are almost guaranteed to remove characters that people really want to play.
So do we think we should have hero pools as League only and remove them from comp?
No, I don't necessarily think that that's the case. I just think that it should be more random.
Uh,
Yeah, I honestly think that having cats choose it was one of the funniest fucking things I've
oh
ever
yeah,
seen, and
dude,
I
it was
wish we'd do it
hysterical.
more. And this, I'm going to put a pin in that particular one because it goes on to our next point. But finishing up hero pools, this coming week, removed from play for support is Moira. For tank is Ryan.
Hmm.
This is not correct. Reinhardt's not removed, it's Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, I blame you. You did this that chunk of the script.
I did not do that chunk of the script. Excuse you.
I literally started editing the script for the episode. I did not touch that.
Oh my god, that was when it was week fucking 5. Oh no. Oh, well here's what's funny though.
Yeah.
Because remove for this week, Mercy, Wrecking Ball, and what's accurate from week 5, McCree and Widowmaker.
Why ban all the hit scan at once? Like,
See, the thing is, McCree and Widowmaker were randomly chosen from the bingo ball cage
mhm.
when we first were working on this outline fucking 7 weeks ago. 10
Yeah.
weeks, however long it was. March lasted for 5,000 years and April lasted for 10 minutes.
Hmm.
Anyway, the point is, McCree and Widowmaker get banned together more than once, and I find this fucking hilarious. It's terrible, and I love it. That said, I miss the bingo ball cage.
Hmm.
It's the little rolly cage. I miss blindfolding the hosts and making
Yeah.
them pick things and then blaming people when they pick things poorly. I miss the hilariously imperfect system of entice a cat over here and hope that it touches one of those cards because the cat doesn't
Yeah.
give a single solitary fuck, and that's what makes it amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that we're trying to tighten things up a little as the league, especially since we have to do all of this stuff online. It's more difficult, it's harder to regulate. Like, I get it. But having the randomness of a sentient but not sapient player picking these things was beautiful. Nori picking May to be out of the pool was, I think, one of the best things we've had from the desk
Hmm.
this season. Full stop, hands down. And it's
Oh
not
yeah.
just because I'm a cat person.
Oh yeah. No, I think I really enjoyed that.
And this, go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing that I just wanted to point out about this, let's just take a quick look at how many times McCree specifically has been banned. Week 5, week 9, week 11.
Week
This
13.
week 13.
May has been banned once.
Yes. So Widowmaker and McCree have been banned together. This is the third time.
I love it. It's so stupid. I love it.
So McCree, since the implementation of hero bans, we've had 1, 2, 6, 7. Yeah, we've had right now 7 rounds of hero banning. McCree has been gone for more than half of the existence of hero bans.
Which means he gets banned every other week like clockwork.
Meanwhile, May has
May
been
has been
banned
banned once.
once.
This is
Luce,
why I like hero pools. I think it's
Lucio
hilarious.
has been banned once.
This is the first time that Mercy has been banned. Haven't
Yeah,
we?
but
We've had more than one Ana ban, right?
I think. Let me double
I feel
check.
like we've had maybe like 2 Ana bans. We had Brigitte at least once, and that was a bonkers week.
Brigitte's been twice.
Okay, those were crazy weeks. So
So
yeah, your
the,
comment of Farah out here like it's free real estate. I think with Diva in the mix, we might still have some issues with finding some solid Farah play.
it's so much easier if it's just Diva, like than if
This is
there's a
true.
McCree or a Widowmaker as well.
This is true. But yeah, so this honestly goes into our next point is online format, and a janky Overwatch League is best Overwatch League. Fight me.
Hmm.
And I know that there's a ton of contention over this, and this is this is tough to do. And I say that as an extrovert. I say that as someone who has been a sports fan for fucking ever. I say that as someone who loves live events, loves people, loves cheering my face off. You can see me in some of those promotional videos yelling my fucking face off, and I can
Oh yeah.
remember what matches I was at when they took those videos. Like this is a thing that I adore. And I miss the Blizzard Arena like you would not believe.
Hmm.
It being down the street from me was convenience.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. But
But
ultimately that format needed to change for shit to grow. But
yeah, but watching them play online, knowing that the casters and the desk are working from home and that a lot of their technology and those backgrounds were sent to them by the league. Like I thought they were green screens. No, whole printed backgrounds.
mhm.
Knowing that the watchers, who are the people who give us these really great video feeds, and the directors and whatnot, are also working from home. And you can see that when someone has a bandwidth issue and suddenly the game gets pixelated or the feed cuts out or something, and you know that that watcher is having trouble. We're having more pauses because of ping issues and hardware issues. Still not as long as the one like 30, what was it, like a 90-minute pause? That's still our
Oh
record
god,
holder.
yeah.
But we've had more technical issues because again, nobody's in the same place,
Hmm.
and sometimes you live in a place where you're not getting the bandwidth you pay for
Yeah.
because the whole ass apartment complex is all online because it's Saturday and we're bored out of our fucking minds.
Hmm.
Like you get so many more technical issues, but you have the game chat, which, my God, the game chat has been on
Sex, big dick.
fire. Sex, big dick.
Uh,
Apologizing for teammates throwing, even if they're not. Just the stupid, stupid jokes, which have been so much fun to watch.
yeah.
You have the host's pets coming on camera, jumping up on that. You see Custo with a pair of cattails in front of him, or Zoe, or you get, oh hey, my dog is here, and you pick up this tiny little purse dog that's the cutest goddamn thing you've ever seen. Like
Hmm.
the pet presence here is it's beautiful.
Oh yeah,
It
no,
brings me joy.
yeah, I love that change in things. It's like it is really nice though. I miss the crowd noise and stuff. Like hearing
Oh
people
yeah.
talk like adds so much to my enjoyment of things.
But I also want to say, like, for me, the biggest part of this is that it is bringing out the best in the desk and in the casters because it's much, much easier to do your job when the technology is running smoothly, when you have an optimal setup, when you're in the same place. Like, your job is much easier to do when everything is working smoothly. When things are fucked, when your setup isn't perfect, when you're working around tech issues, it is much more difficult to do your job effectively. And we are seeing the talent shine here. For everyone saying, oh yeah, no, I could totally do that. It's easy to say that when you're seeing everything run smoothly. But I don't remember which caster it was, and I don't remember which match it was, but I know it was one of the matches that was having more technical issues than usual, including a watcher bandwidth issue where the screen was just not moving. And you could hear the casters still talking and still going over things. And then when it got into the break, they admitted, yeah, like I was getting a frame every 10 seconds and I was casting based on what I knew about the meta, how I knew these teams acted, and what would be the thing they would do in this situation. They were flying blind and still accurate. This is the hardest goddamn thing to do, and they are out here doing it. And they're out here doing it at 1 in the fucking morning, trying not to keep their neighbors up. Like, this is not easy work when things are like this.
Yeah, no, I really do enjoy the janky production value. Like the thing is, there are definitely like times where it is distracting in some ways, but I enjoy the sort of looseness of it because it reminds me of a lot of like older tournaments. Like, there are legit some tournaments that are so chill that they just have the casters sitting on a couch in front of the crowd and just
So it's basically GDQ, but with Overwatch.
Yes.
So yeah, I will fight everyone over janky Overwatch being best Overwatch. It there's something about it that's just quietly charming in a way that you don't get in a stadium where everything is polished. And I miss the stadium and I miss that madness, but there's not this is a different type of Overwatch League and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
Meet me in the parking lot. I will fight you, except we have to stay 6 feet apart. So I will fight you long
I
distance
will fight
over
you
how
with my
janky
fucking
Overwatch is
mind
the best
bullets.
Overwatch. I will fight you with my mind bullets. You're absolutely right. So that's my little love letter to the madness that we're experiencing right now, and the when the
Yeah.
chips are down and when things are difficult, you can see how people truly perform.
Yeah,
So shout out to the desk and the
for
casters
sure. Like,
because this shit is hard.
yeah, they're busting their asses to make this work. And while definitely there are times where I'm like, I miss like the production quality that there's only so much you can do in the scenario that we're fucking in. But they're busting their asses to make it work, and by God, it's still entertaining.
My favorite thing is casters talking about being unable to do their own makeup and missing their makeup artists. Like that just that makes me so happy. It's not like any of us can tell.
Mhm.
Like the makeup artists do a bang up job. They really do. It's not easy being a makeup artist either. But when they're doing the home setup and they're like, "I look terrible." And I'm like, "It's okay. I can't tell. Let's go."
It's one of those times that I kind of wish that, like, so you know what I look like. I am a
Yeah.
massive hair. Uh,
Yes.
Back prior to season one, when they put out a open casting call, I submitted some material to try and get hired. And every time they're like, "Oh, I look terrible," I'm like, "You thought, you thought."
But yeah, no, shout out to wardrobe and makeup artists who are still doing their best and who are still consulting long distance.
Yeah,
Like, y'all, not easy to do.
no.
So yeah, so janky Overwatch is best Overwatch. Fight me in the parking lot 6 feet apart with mind bullets. Um, Overwatch League announced that they're going to do a tournament at the end of May.
Yes.
So I can appreciate this. It gives
Hmm.
the players something to look forward to. It looks at their stats for this point, but it also, we have two different tournaments depending on what side of the planet you're playing on.
Yeah.
And one side of the planet is going to have one, and the other side of the planet is going to have the other. It's going to be based on standings. There's going to be play ins for the lower level teams, and then the higher level teams. Some of them will get buy ins depending on which tournament you're in and what the standings look like.
Hmm.
And winning the tournament not only gets a team a cash prize, but it also gets them wins tacked onto their record so that when it goes into the finals, those wins will count for something. So I like this setup. I think this is a good thing to
Yeah.
do.
No, I'm very much on board with it, and I remember that there was going to be a mid-season tournament held during the All-Star weekend like time slot anyway, but I like the idea of having it sort of like count as wins and losses on the record just because so many teams had their matches delayed and fucked up, so kind of folding it in a little bit. I like that. It streamlines things. It's cool.
Yeah, and from what they said in the announcement, I don't think the May tournament is going to be the only tournament. I
Yeah,
think these are going to be monthly or bi
that would
monthly.
be very cool.
Bi monthly as in every other month, not as in twice a month.
Yeah,
Like, that is the same word with two completely different
yeah,
definitions.
yeah.
Thanks, English.
English is kind of a bullshit language. Let's be real.
Peruse is another one that has the same word with completely opposite definitions. It's
Mhm.
terrible. I love it. Continuing on, Echo. Echo is a brand new character that now exists. She's DPS. Her ult lets her mimic other heroes for a set amount of time, including earning their ults at an accelerated rate.
Mhm.
And she is available to play as of this weekend in the league.
Yeah, she has been available to play for a little bit. However, the She was banned in the hero pool for the first week in which she was publicly available.
Which was hysterical to me, which tells me that people in comp were playing her so much they got her banned.
Because that's what happens when a new character comes out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember Doomfist getting dropped, and they just released a game mode that was nothing but Doomfist because that's what we all wanted to do. So yeah, that's Echo, and it will be interesting to see how she shakes things up in addition to the hero pool this coming weekend.
Hmm.
So that should be fun and bonkers.
Yeah, and I think it'll be. It's one of those things where there's her ultimate. She's very mobile. She can put out a ton of damage, and her ultimate can fuck the paradigm in such a profound way. Because I've played some games with Echo in it where I'm main tanking against another Reinhardt, and then the Echo copies me. So there's two Reinhardts with Earth Shatter coming at me at the same time.
Say
There,
goodbye to your shield.
well, no, it's like one of them just charges to try and pin me, and I either have to eat the pin and my team gets shattered, or I counter pin and my team gets shattered. I can't win.
So your hose.
Yeah.
And this just reminds me that, yeah, you play in fucking Diamond. That's not the kind of thing that happens in Bronze.
No.
Bronze is like quick play with more people on mic. Yeah. I seriously,
No,
seriously.
yeah.
But yeah, Echo played at top tier, and we saw this in the Echo tournament that we had and in the Echo exhibition match between the Valiant and the Gladiators. Echo played at top tier is going to be super interesting, and I cannot wait to see the bonkers bullshit they pull this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be nutty.
So yeah, moving on, we have player and coaching shifts, which we pretty much touched on all of these in
Mhm.
terms of touching on the team. The Boston released someone note was from week 5, and I think updated at this point. We talked about Boston releasing Muffin and how it was the right thing to do.
I think you might have
We
been talking about like maybe Swimmer or something, or no, it was
probably, I don't remember.
because Boston, since this season started, has released a number of players because first they released Munchkin in like the end of March, or no, the beginning of
Yeah.
March. Then recently Muffin the Sex Pest, and then 10 days after that, Swimmer.
Well, then it was definitely Munchkin that I was talking about
Yeah,
because these were notes from the beginning of March.
yeah, he was released on March 2nd.
Yep, that sounds about right for week 5. So yeah, this is we talked about Boston, we talked in depth about Vancouver, and for me one of the bigger shocks this week was Sinatra retiring from right the fuck out of nowhere.
Yeah, he hinted at some big announcement a couple weeks ago, like I think like a week and a half ago. And said that there was a announcement he was going to make that he spent a lot of time thinking on it. It was a really hard decision, and so this was kind of what some people thought might happen based upon him saying that on stream. And
It looked like Shock dropped the information without telling him because he made a comment on his Twitter about, oh shit, I wasn't ready for that to be leaked. Let me write my first twit longer ever.
yeah,
So I don't think he was prepared for the announcement, which is a little weird, but
yeah, it's a bit strange.
go off, I guess.
Yeah,
But yeah, like we'd mentioned earlier, he essentially said that he lost the passion for Overwatch to the point where I don't want to say he was throwing in game because throwing implies some malice to it. He just wasn't there. He was not interested, he was not enthusiastic, and again, talent but no enthusiasm will get you nowhere.
yeah. Super had talked about how like after the announcement, it's like Sinatra's always very vocal, very decisive guy, and you could really tell that like in more recent scrim blocks, he was just not active a part of it in the same way. Um,
Coasting.
no, well, not even. I think that's going a little far, but there's a difference between trying and putting 110% into it.
Yeah. So
There's
he's
yeah.
he's out. He is presumably going to Valorant.
That's confirmed. He's going to be joining Sentinel's Valorant team.
And this has brought up some, and I am not qualified to speak on this in any capacity, but evidently there are some contractual issues that may or may not amount to a no compete clause in all but name,
Yeah.
which is
So
wild. And again, I'm not qualified to talk about this in any capacity.
mhm. Yeah.
Are you?
Well, I mean, I can tell you what I saw. I can't discuss necessarily the legality of it or whatever, but
So we're in salt territory, as in grain of salt, not as in salty. I will be salty about Sentinels next, but we're in grain of salt territory right now.
yeah. So allegedly, and I don't know if this was like confirmed by a better source or something. Um, it was that basically you could, if you left to pursue a career in Valorant, you couldn't sign to one of the competing teams in basically one of the teams owned by a competing owl franchise's ownership,
So were there a Valorant team for Immortals? You couldn't sign to that, which is why he's gone to a team owned by Sentinel.
which does not own an Overwatch League thing and at present is not involved.
Yeah, they used to do stuff for the Gladiators and they
Mhm.
split.
Yeah, they used to be
So,
the Gladiators sort of like management team.
yeah. So yeah, that's a contractual issue that I think needs to have another look taken at it. And again,
Yeah.
people are talking again about a players union, and I think that's a good idea
Mhm.
because a lot of these players are very young and don't know what
Oh
they're
yeah.
getting into in terms of contracts signed before they're 18. So I think a players union is a really good idea. I would not be surprised if Blizzard fights it, but anyone's going to fight a union nowadays. It's a fucking problem.
Hmm.
So yeah, I got a little capitalism in my podcast. Anyway, continuing on the salt train, I want to talk about today's Twitter shenanigans. And again, we covered Vancouver in depth, and those aren't. I don't consider that to be shenanigans. I don't consider that under this umbrella.
No,
Um,
I
I
say
want to
like
talk
eyeing
about
my liquor cabinet.
yeah. No, that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend. I want to talk about Sentinels doing something they shouldn't have. And I want to talk about McGravy winning the internet. So, Sentinels, now that they have Sinatra, they posted a photo saying, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of this other human that's in the photo, but he is going to be another one of their Valorant players. Give me a minute. I'm sure I will find it. Buga, Bugha.
Um,
I don't know how to pronounce that. Buga is going to be another one of their Valorant players. And Sentinels posted a lovely picture taken from the Jimmy Fallon interview when he interviewed Super and Sinatra after they became the season 2 champions. And
oh,
they made a comment about two champions and Jimmy Fallon's there too. And what they posted, actually, let me
I
pull this up.
hadn't
I've got the
seen
lovely
this.
thing. Oh, you hadn't? Sentinels posted just a pair of world champions vibing. Oh, and Jimmy Fallon too. And they tagged Jimmy Fallon. And it is a picture of what was Super and Sinatra on the Jimmy Fallon show. They photoshopped Super out and they shopped Bugha in. And this is fucked, honestly. It's uh it's it's incorrect. um it's one thing to be like, okay, yeah, we're super excited to bring Sinatra onto our Valorant team. We're so happy that we have a championship player. It's one thing to express enthusiasm. I will say that this is not the first time that Sentinels have gone too far on social media in terms of a joke, and I say that with a valiant bias. I'm fully aware of that. This is not the first time that they have overstepped the line between funny and rude as fuck. This is the first time that I know of that they've gone this far. Like this just feels bad. And Super replied like a little jokingly, like, "Hey, at least keep me in the background or something." But you can read that tweet and be like, "Hey, he's a little hurt," and not fucking surprising because they photoshopped him. And Super is young. He's 18. He might be 19 at this point, but he's young, and he is one of the people who is at the top of his fucking field.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do
And
ever,
he and
but
Sinatra are
he
friends,
is.
like actual
Yeah.
buddies, you know?
Yeah. So, and getting interviewed on a late night show is a big goddamn deal. It really is. And I know we see a lot of them. We see celebrities interviewed all the time, whatever. He's 18 and he got this interview because he has a career playing video games and he's damn good at it. This
Yeah.
is a huge, huge thing. And what Sentinels have done is they have taken a photo of this huge, huge thing that he was able to do with one of his friends who also accomplished this huge, huge thing with him and taken him out of it. And then to add insult to injury, had the balls to at Jimmy Fallon on it, on a doctored photo of an interview he did. It would be one thing if they had, like, if it was a purposefully janky Photoshop in the same way that Red versus Blue used to do, like desperately cutting your crush's partner out of a photo and using Elmer's glue to glue a mismatched picture of yourself in there, Photoshop, because that's funny. That's the seams are showing. It's dumb. We all know it's dumb. Haha, look how dumb it is. Like, it's one thing to do that, but to do a professional Photoshop and just completely remove Super is bullshit. This is really bad.
Yeah, and they actually did respond to Super's reply to it, and they said, "Yo,
By shopping him over Fallon,
yes."
which is also stupid
It's
and doesn't fix it.
it's one of those things that, like, if I knew that there was no chance of people like being pissed, like if this was a thing happening between friends, I would probably find it funny, but it's not, so I don't.
This is on their official channel.
Yeah, this is
Nice little
yeah.
blue check mark and everything. So again, this is Sentinels going way over the line. Like, this is not an appropriate thing to do. Why would you do that? You fucked up. You owe someone an apology. And they didn't. So, not a good look for Sentinels.
No.
Feel kind of bad for Sinatra being stuck in the middle of this bullshit, because I'm sure he didn't ask for this. And yeah, somebody needs to talk to the Sentinel's social media and be like, "Hey, how about you McFucking don't?" So yeah, I'm salty about this. I think this was an incredibly bad decision on the part of their organization, and I think failure to walk it back was a second bad decision compounding on the first. So yeah, that's where I stand on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I've talked long enough about it.
Oh no, I mean I completely agree. It was tasteless and stupid and shouldn't have happened.
Yep. So, on the flip side, on the wonderful things, we found out today that Halsey, singer, artist,
Mm.
lovely human being, is an Overwatch fan, as she did a small photo shoot of herself in a Diva swimsuit and Diva cosplay, a couple of poses, and posted it on Twitter. And McGravy, God bless him, has a Diva suit. He's got the cosplay. I think it's Pataya's fault. I'm not sure. But he has this cosplay, so he pulls out his phone, puts on the cosplay, and recreates Halsey's shoot with himself in that cosplay. Same tweet, same emojis, same poses. It's hysterical.
It's so good.
And then tweets it at Halsey. And Halsey retweets it with just the caption, "King." So McGravy won the internet today.
Oh yeah.
It's difficult to win Twitter because Twitter is an ever-shifting morass of insanity.
Yeah.
But McGravy won Twitter today. That was beautiful, and I needed it in my
It,
life.
it
And that is a guy who doesn't afraid of anything.
it does make me very happy, and so like, do we know if she knew who he was, like, when this happened?
I don't have a
Yeah,
clue.
that's
I doubt it. I think she probably saw the photo set and just laughed her ass off because it was also an extreme I want to say it was within like the hour.
it was very fast.
Oh, yeah. McGravy was obviously not doing anything today. So
Yeah,
he put on his diva suit and again, just immediately got on it, confident as hell to do that, to post them publicly, and then to at Halsey and be like, "Hey, did you see this?" So, yeah, McGravy won Twitter today, and it brought me joy. And I highly recommend looking up the photos because holy shit, they're hysterical.
it is really funny.
It's real good. So yeah, wanted to kind of end on that high note as we go into our week 13 predictions. I don't know what our numbers are. I don't care. Let's
Yeah,
just continue
I've
on.
stopped worrying about. I stopped worrying about math when I started going to film school. That's just
Your batting average is better than mine. This is a fact. Let's continue. So, we have Guangzhou versus Seoul. I don't honestly know given the way these two have been playing.
yeah. This one could honestly be kind of a toss up to me. Um, I feel though that basically, unless Seoul wins the tank battle decisively, I think Guangzhou wins it. And
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards Guangzhou too.
yeah,
I think a lot of Souls have been very one sided, whereas we've seen Guangzhou put up a hell of a fight on more than one occasion.
yeah, and I think Seoul has a win over Guangzhou, but
How long ago was it?
before they got their asses stomped by the dragons. Um,
So, yeah, uh, New York versus Shanghai. This, I think, is our title match of the weekend.
for sure,
One of two.
I'm going with Shanghai on this.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean Shanghai too. I don't think we've seen enough of New York coming out of their cage and they've been doing just fine. So,
Mhm.
we'll see, but it's going to be one worth watching and I will catch that VOD when it's not airing at 3 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, and it will be very interesting to see kind of what happens in that, especially because I do think the hero bands that are in place right now affect the hero pool of the dragons more than the NYXL, in that more I think they have more people kind of known for the Widowmaker McCree capability, but at the same
True.
time the dragons also have the best Pharah in the world.
This is very true. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of whether New York can counter that
Mhm.
with Diva and Ash,
Well, not
essentially.
not even that, but there's basically there are two ways that you can beat a Pharah comp essentially. One of them One is take them out of the sky, and the second is don't worry about them and win the fight on the ground. With Ding, that second one is a whole lot easier said than done. But with the hero pool being what it is, we do have the possibility of seeing who are you signature Genji. We do have the possibility of seeing Sabiel B's signature Tracer. Like a lot of the signature star making picks that the NYXL's players can really rock out on are available.
We also have to keep in mind that while it's free real estate for Farah, there is no pharmacy combo this week.
Yes.
Mercy is out.
Yeah,
Thanks, Custa.
that's the other big one.
So we're moving on to mixing the Atlantic and Pacific divisions, which should be interesting, starting with Dallas Fuel versus Washington Justice. And let's be real, it's going to be the Fuel.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Washington won a map, honestly.
My God, I would be pleasantly surprised. I would love that. I would love the losing side of a
Mhm.
3-2. I would love to win, but there's a reason I'm breaking open the liquor cabinet this weekend. It turns out that Bevmo delivers, so I've
Yes,
got a whole ass bottle of Bailey's and nothing else to do.
Bevmo delivers,
Uh,
and there's also Drizzly, which can get you stuff from other liquor stores.
this is true. Moving on, we have the LA Valiant versus Atlanta Rain.
Uh,
I feel like this will be a little closer,
this
but
one, I feel like
Atlanta.
it could go either way. I'm actually,
That's high praise for the Valiant coming from you.
I don't dislike them. And
I
I
know.
think that the way their team has performed, they have a lot of potential. I'm going with the Valiant over Atlanta.
Holy shit. Really?
Well, I think part of it is because the while Atlanta does have a very solid and diverse DPS line, I feel like the bans of McCree and Widowmaker affect them more than it does the LA Valiant in some capacities, because we know the LA Valiant has practice, um, a lot of practice doing stuff with Torb and Ash and, you know, all sorts of other stuff because Packing 10 experiments.
And we did see some bonkers Ash play last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that
So I'm going Valiant on that one.
you've convinced me.
Like, I definitely think
I am rescinding my vote of no confidence in Chancellor Gig.
if,
Let's go Valiant.
if Atlanta can play to the level that I think they're capable of, if they can play to their threshold, I think they win. If they play the way they have been, I think Valiant wins.
You don't have to twist my arm to get me to vote for the Valiant, okay?
I'm just
You don't.
I'm just I'm just explaining my reasoning.
I know, I know. Moving on, we have the Houston Outlaws versus the San Francisco Shock, and
Shock.
it's gonna be the Shock. It's going to be interesting to see how a lack of Sinatra affects the Shock. However, I think the Outlaws are hobbled by losing Wrecking Ball, especially, who is one of Muma's stronger tanks.
Yeah,
And
but the
again,
thing
no Widowmaker, no McCree, no Linkser.
but with Lucio and Reinhardt in play, like I feel like on most situations, Reinhardt is going to be what you want to play anyway.
Yeah, and let's be real, we have Super.
Yeah, it's a matter of
And we have Moth. You can't beat Moth.
you're forgetting Choi Hyun.
This is also true.
Yeah,
But I'm just talking in terms of Reinhardt and Lucio.
yeah,
We have Super and Moth.
yeah.
So yeah,
I think
I love Jexay, I love Muma, but we in trouble.
yes.
Moving on to Sunday, Soul Dynasty versus Hongsho Spark. Hongsho.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Hong Shou as well. Although I might go Soul on this one.
Oh. We've established Hongsho as the stronger team than Guangzhou, and yet you pick Guangzhou over Seoul and Seoul over Hongsho.
Yes.
Interesting.
The
All
reason,
right,
the, the
I'm sticking
reason
with the pink.
the reason being that I feel like Hong Shou is slightly less able to dominate the tank battle against Seoul. And while their DPS are good and arguably more consistent in some cases than the Guangzhou DPS can be, they don't have the decisive firepower edge that Guangzhou does when you can put in Nero Happy or Eileen.
Okay. This will be an interesting one to watch
That
on
being
VOD.
said, I might have talked myself into voting Soul for the other one. Because
It's not too late to change your vote.
what does Happy play?
That's a really good question. I don't follow a lot of Guangzhou. Oh, he's a Mercy, isn't he?
What?
No, I'm losing my mind. It's 10:30.
You are absolutely losing your
I
mind.
told you I don't follow a lot of Guangzhou is one of those teams where I know it has players, but if you put the names in a lineup with a whole bunch of other players, I'd only be able to pick
Widowmaker
them
and
out.
McCree. He plays
Thank
Widowmaker and
you.
McCree.
Thank you. I'd only be able to pick them out of the lineup because I'd be able to say, no, that person plays for Shanghai. No, that person plays for them. Like, it would be a process of elimination because Guangzhou is one of those teams that I cannot keep track of. There's 20 teams. Allow me one where I just mentally drop everything. They've got great colors. I know nothing else.
Yeah, the Widowmaker 1v1 tournament, I'm trying to remember how Happy did in that because he was in it and he is one of the better um he's one of the better like Widowmakers in the league. Um
Well, so is Surefour, and
yeah,
anyway, we've it's having a good time, having a good time. Maybe we can finish before 11.
yeah, we're good.
Next, yeah, next up we have Chengdu Hunters versus NYXL,
NYXL.
New York. Yeah, yeah, no question, no
Hmm.
question. Love Chengdu, but they are not at that level.
No,
Coming back, we have our rematch. We have the Philadelphia Fusion versus the Paris Eternal.
Philly.
Paris. I think I put a little more stock in the Carpe carry than you might. And I think that losing that tool is going to cause issues for Philly.
I think it would have in a previous iteration of the team. I think right now they can win without it.
We saw it happen the last time they played Paris.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I do think this one could go either way, but I'm coming down on the side of Paris. And again, Echo showing up could upend all of our predictions.
Absolutely.
We have no idea. But this, I think New York and Shanghai and Philadelphia and Paris are our two banner, could go either way matches this weekend. Those will be
Yeah,
the ones to watch.
agreed. They're going to be the
Um,
most competitive, like high level play that we're going to see this weekend.
oh, yeah. Opposite of that, Florida versus Boston.
Florida.
Florida. Just Florida. And finally, Toronto versus Gladiators. Gladiators.
Gladiators.
I mean, we've got a player grudge match here with Surefour on Toronto after being on Gladiators for 2 seasons, but Gladiators.
Yeah, I'm
Yikes.
not super optimistic about his chances.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about how my red teams like to hurt me.
Yes.
So this is basically just gonna be a whole weekend of me in pain. just leave me here to die.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough one. I would say. Yeah.
The potential, well, I mean, Houston versus San Francisco, I like them both. I do have a softer spot for Houston. Toronto versus Gladiators, it's honestly hard to say who I like more.
Yeah.
So either which way, whoever wins, I win. Valiant versus Atlanta might be the bright spot, but let's be real, Justice is just, I love them,
They're
but they're in
they're not
trouble.
winning that match. No.
No, they're not. Not unless Dallas just drops literally everything, which this isn't season 2, so they're not gonna.
Or season one.
Or season 1, so they're not gonna. It's oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy. I think I need to stop now. Not breaking open the Baileys yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long ass ride tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna hit.
We're at 3
Yeah, we're
hours.
gonna hit 3 hours by the time we sign off, and it'll probably be edited down a bit because there's some chunks that, for technical reasons, just need to go. But it's a long one.
So we're like the Overwatch League. We're recording from home and occasionally stuff fucks up.
Yep.
Like my brain. Trying to remember who plays what on Guangzhou.
Yeah.
I will own that forever. Yeah. So I am Katie. You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. If you are fond of Rooster Teeth properties, I am also on Rooster Team Radio, in which we cover all of those. And that's another podcast where we are still working with doing things at a distance and with new technology, but we are going to get back up and running soon. So, yeah, good times.
Yeah, I'm CJ. You can find me on Twitter at the underscore rage underscore nerd. I don't do much with it, but I'm there. uh, so yeah, you can find me there. See my like once a week tweets.
feel free
I'm just
to.
tired. I
Oh,
put all my fucking shit into that rant.
I know, I know, I know. That's why I've been talking my face off. This is what we do. You do the analysis. I do the soft, weird, fun shit. We make a good team. We make a good team. Yeah, and I can actually remember who does what on this team, which is a good thing.
Very true.
You can follow the podcast Twitter at On The Point Pod. I keep saying I'm going to do more things with it, and now that we're recording again, I actually might. Holy shit! Including potentially live tweeting matches if I'm watching them and drinking, and watching them and drinking. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that fun stuff. As always, supporting our sponsor supports us, so head over to fredhebakes.com, fredhebakes.com, and use coupon code on the point for 20% off your entire order. Get yourself some cookies. You deserve it. Thank you for listening. We're about to hit 3 hours. We good?
If we're not, fuck me.
Well, alrighty then. Let's C9. Yup.
Yep.